one who's been tagged because she's a blatant liar. Nothing worse than crooks, is there? Pret. We just call them Pret now. We don't call them Pret-a-Manger. It gets rid of 70 allergens and puts proper labels on the sandwiches. We don't do sandwiches on this programme. We're actually all healthy. We used to have sandwiches before. We'd have bacon, lettuce and tomato. We'd have Coronation chicken. We used to have a nice Wensleydale sandwich. Apparently Marks and Spencer, according to Josh, have decided to abandon that one. But there's also the man who put a Jack Russell up for sale because he didn't want it damaging his new sofa. John Thompson slams the BBC over its claims that a Fast Show remake would be too expensive, given that they pay Gary Lineker for doing practically nothing, 1.75 million a year. Old Juggy is on there talking about football to an audience of practically zero. Why they bother? And who's going to wear their gold hot pants at Glastonbury? None other than Kylie Minogue. Kylie Minogue says you should be so lucky. It's getting a bit desperate now, isn't it? Can really the pocket thimble actually get out there and sort of still try and sell, I should be so lucky? I'm not sure if she's right for Glastonbury. I don't know. I mean, I know that we talk about Kylie and we're always going, oh, isn't she great and all the rest of it. And I'm sort of thinking, yeah, but is she Glastonbury material? I can understand Dolly Parton, Shirley Bassey, people like that, but Kylie Minogue, it kind of takes it to a different teeny bop level. And, what was the other one? Oh, yes, yesterday, the traffic in Richmond. Nightmare, because you'll remember, because you heard it on LBC, that the fire up on Richmond Hill closed Richmond Hill off. Now, if you know the area, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know the area, this will mean nothing to you. So I get off at Richmond. I do an interview. Do I do it? No, I don't do an interview yesterday. I have to remember what I was doing. And so I get on the bus, and we sit there. For about 20 minutes it takes us to get through the first little bit of Richmond town centre, and I'm thinking, must be an accident. And then I suddenly realised, it's the Richmond Hill fire. What they've done is they've closed off Richmond Hill, so the traffic that used to go straight through to Kingston can't. You have to turn right over the bridge. And if you want to go up to Richmond Hill, you can't. And so we sat there, and in the end, loads of people got off the bus. Because we weren't going anywhere, so I got off the bus at Richmond bus station and walked to the next bus stop and caught the same bus I just got off. But actually, because I don't pay for it, it doesn't make any difference. And I was thinking to myself then, and what have they got at Richmond Hill? The bottom of Richmond Hill, by the cinema, there's a cinema in Richmond just as you go over Richmond Bridge, and one copper standing there trying to explain to dim motorists, you can't go out. Obviously, they didn't have their radios on listening to LBC. That meant that they were a bit stupid. And so there was he was having to go, no, you'll need to go right here. And so the whole thing was a nightmare. No team of people doing it. And it was about an hour to actually get through Richmond. That's how chronically bad it was. Mind you, not half as bad as this morning. I always get a notification of the car. They tell me what the car is and where it is. I can see it on a map because they're tracked by satellite. That's how clever things are nowadays. And this morning, I've had before, I always check the number. And this one I had a short while ago. And I remember we had a problem with him before. He doesn't know where he's going. Not only does he not know where he's going, but I mean, he's been there. He's been to my place and picked me up. So he doesn't. He turns left at traffic lights and disappears off down there. And then they put a notification, your driver has arrived. Of course, he hadn't arrived. Not with me, he hadn't. Even he could have looked on the map. But anyway, that to one side. So we pootle into town at about sort of 30 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, so that's probably quite good. But then you can't go down Orange Street, which is the street that runs parallel to Leicester Square. The reason being that they're digging it up, because that's what they do in London. They dig up the roads just for the hell of it. They dig up roads. And so I said, you can't go down here, so we come all the way around Trafalgar Square, which is okay. I mean, I get quite excited with going round Trafalgar Square. Some people don't see Trafalgar Square. They see it as a tourist attraction. I see it as an everyday occurrence. And I've discovered that if you say to some of the drivers in the morning, just here on the left, they stop. There. Wherever you are, if you're in the middle of the road, they just stop. So here, at the bottom of Leicester Square, there's all those big bricks, those big concrete things. So I said, just here. Brakes on, we stop just right there. So you practically need duckboarding to get to the curb. I mean, why? I've got no idea. The one this morning, he completely misses the turning. So I said, no, left here. Where do you think you're going? And he goes, reversing was a nigh on impossibility. So eventually we do. And then again, we sort of stop in the middle of the road. It's like, I mean, just honestly. By the time you get into work, I'm so stressed. So stressed. Yeah, but I'm all right. I'm all right now. I've sort of calmed down a little bit. A bit excited about tomorrow morning when I shall be giving the results out. You know, I just pop in as an afterthought and give out the results because they will be coming in during my programme, like they did last week. And Tricia's in Bedfordshire, off to Gatwick, work. It's all right. Well, my goddaughter works at one of the airports. She's got a fluorescent jacket. She looks really super in it. I'm so impressed. So impressed. She's done really well because I think she loves the job involved, and she's so polite. Seriously, I mean, she's awfully polite. She's only young, but she's very, very polite to people. So would you like to bring your bag over here? And then I think she goes through people's bags and stuff like that. I'd have a field day. She's been called every name under the sun. Every day, for people who are smuggling things, cigarettes mainly. You know, they actually put them in the kids' luggage and all the rest of it. She's been called everything from a paedophile upwards. Seriously. And she's just doing her job. Some of these people are scum. Absolute scum. They really are. Drone users will have to pay a registration fee. If you buy a drone, they get, like you buy a TV licence, which would be quite... Are you in the same planet as the rest of us today? Oh, you are? Are you okay? You're thinking? Oh, what's the matter? That's a full body thing. I know what you mean. I'm like that. Do you want to buy... I've got a drone. I've got two drones. Not with me, obviously. I mean, quite clearly not with me, but I told you I bought two in Costco. I bought one and then I went back because I liked it so much. I haven't taken it out of the box. It's red. You want to borrow them? You want to for what? I mean, wait, you live in a bedsit. What's the point? You can't have it whizzing round the bedsit. It'll look like a scene from a film, won't it? Little thing. When you leave. But actually, the nice thing about this one is you connect it up to your iPhone and you've got the camera on board. 27 quid. Seriously, how they make them for that price, I'll never know. How they make them for that price. Amazing, isn't it? Talking of cameras, I was watching on YouTube this morning, American Cops Bent. It's amazing how many cops out of New York, probably in New York as well, are fiddling the law. One bloke, he had a camera on, and the policeman said to him, he came to the window, "Good morning, sir. Turn that off." And he went, "No, it's my camera in my car. I don't have to turn it off on your say-so." And so he carries on filming, and the copper's going, "Right, well, you know, you were doing this without your seatbelt on." He said, "No, I've had my seatbelt on all the time." He said, "That's why I've got the camera here." He said, "To prove to you that I've had it on all the time." And then he said, "Well, you have to turn it off." He said, "I'm not turning it off. It's as simple as that." And in the end, the cop gave up. But I was amazed how many coppers try and be economical with the law. That's why it is imperative that you get yourself one of these dash cams, not only for looking out, but for in the car as well, so you can just guarantee... You can see all sorts of things. They put them up on YouTube now. They're really, really interesting. Very, very interesting. Robbie Williams is having a birthday party. Thank the Lord it's not in this country. He thinks that Elton John's going to go. You seriously think Elton John's going to go to somebody like Robbie Williams? He's not even in the same league. Plus Cheryl... No, it's not Cheryl. It's Rochelle. Rochelle... Did I say Cheryl? I probably said Cheryl. Rochelle has found her lost family after 23 years. They must have been really hiding, mustn't they? Lose them for 23 years. You know, we've been trying to lose Scottish Boy for, best part of 4 months now, and he still won't go. He still keeps turning up, don't you? You wake up in the morning, his alarm... Do you have a special alarm? I've got an alarm clock that makes noises. Not like beep, 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 beep. I've got one that makes the sound of crashing waves. I bought it in John Lewis. It's got different bird song. You can wake up to bird song, and the light comes on and then slowly fades. Like, that's going to wake me up. But I like the idea of crashing waves. I think that's quite nice, isn't it, really? It's apparently supposed to be therapeutic. It just makes me want to wee. Doesn't make me want to do anything else apart from wee. So generally speaking, in the morning, you have to get out of bed very carefully, avoid the wet patch. So it's one of those sort of things. Talking of Rochelle, we've got a great story about Marvin. But we can't tell you what it is, because it's only relevant to us, but you would find it funny as well. I can't tell. I'll have to tell you at the next show this Christmas. Then I can tell stories like that. I can't do them on air, though, but it's quite funny. Well, we thought it was funny. What else? Oh, Sean Ryder's banging on about aliens again. He thinks they're arriving in little spacecraft. I don't know. I think he's lost the point, hasn't he, really? And... what is it? Oh, Simon Thomas returning to work 18 months after his wife's unexpected death. He's made 3 little films for this morning, and whether it goes any further after that, I've got no idea. It's about depression and things like that. And he was talking about bringing up his son alone, but he's got a girlfriend. He's had a girlfriend for quite a while now. And, because remember there was that discussion that the newspapers had, is it too soon, after somebody dies, to actually go and get another person? Some people can't thrive without having a partner. Kevin the Milkman, do you know there's a great piece in Country Life this week, Kevin, about milkmen? Milkmen are making a comeback, because of glass bottles. People want glass bottles, and it was a story in there. So it's in Country Life. Milkman, you must get it's very expensive. Very expensive Country Life. He says, I know what you mean about idiot minicab drivers. I'm the poor sod driving behind them when they jump on the brakes. How I've never rear-ended one is a miracle. They're totally oblivious to other drivers on the road. How do they keep the driving licence? I don't know. I've got no idea. But it's when you say just here on the left, they just stop. Just no pulling into the curb or anything like that. I have to look out thinking, might bump into a cyclist here. Neil says, do you need a personal driver? Pass over the keys. What could possibly go wrong? Actually, I've always wanted a personal... I did have a personal driver. Years and years ago. I had when I say personal driver, he was sort of assigned to me. He did... What was his name? I can't remember. Why did you ask me that? No, it was when we were at ITN. Alan, isn't it? I'm so sorry, Alan, because he could be listening. And, yes, my lady. No, he wasn't like that at all. But he used to pick me up and take me into work and then take me back home again afterwards. He used to do a couple of people. LBC had him on a permanent basis. And I bumped into him in Twickenham a few years back. Because I always said, if ever I win the lottery, I would employ a driver, because wouldn't that be lovely? You come into town, you don't need to worry about parking it. He just goes and parks up somewhere else and has a sleep or watches television or something like that. And then I phone him and go, I'm ready to be collected. I mean, that would be the idea. That would be the ultimate. That would be the best thing ever. Also, having a PA. A PA would be fantastic. Somebody who says, right, today you're here, there, we'll get your car here, that's happening, and all. Oh, that's you, isn't it? That Scottish boy, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you are my PA, aren't you? This is what you're doing today. Yeah, but you don't organise my other things, do you? Could you? Could you organise other... What have we done? Uh-oh. You could organise other things, like Christmas. You could do my Christmas card list. Oh, nothing to do with money, no. No, exactly. But if we did it this year... and we had a Christmas card list, and then you write down the list of all the people I need to sign a card to. Then you put the card in front of me, hand me the pen, I then write la 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 la, and then we send them off. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Could you be a PA? Would you be any good at it? And you can also the other thing is, though, whenever I go out for dinner and lunches and things like that, you would have to organise that with the hotels or the restaurants, and then you could come and sit at a separate table and just sort of wait there until you were needed. You also can't drive, so that's useless, isn't it? Oh, God, honestly. Yeah, if you could drive, that would be helpful. The trouble is, you're quite tall, aren't you? I don't know how you'd fit into my car. Might have to buy a bigger one. And it's quite big. No, you'd be driving. You'd be driving it, because that's the whole idea. Household staff would be a brilliant idea. Oh, I'm up for that one. Household staff. Oh, good Lord, yes. Well, the idea of somebody sort of cooking for you I mean, that would make you so lazy. Do you think Amanda Holden's got staff? I looked at a house the other day, down the road from me. It's very nice. It's £5.5 million. Sorry, £5.25 million. I'm not buying it. I just like looking at them. And it said it's got space outside. There's like a workshop which could be converted into a staff flat. Because if you've got a big house, who's going to clean it? You can't clean it yourself, can you? Ridiculous. My alarm sound is a very popular radio presenter, says Jane. Called Steve Allen. So, says Stuart, Katie Price in the Sun today, showing her face oozing with pus because of her latest cheapo facelift. You know what she did? She was told specifically, do not get your face wet, do not wash your hair, and so she went and did it because she's thick. Because she's really ultimately stupid. I wouldn't mind. She's had enough of these procedures to learn about it. She's denied the eating the avocado chips, even though she tweeted a picture of it. So blatantly, I mean, the poor woman is so delusional. She doesn't know where she is. Oh, and the good news, I knew you'd be thrilled. Arj and the Fat Bird are back together again. I told you it was all fake, didn't I? And I only told you that yesterday. Yesterday I said it's fake. They discovered to get in the newspaper. The papers are so dumb, they'll print anything nowadays. Ridiculous. Steve, says Rob, is there anything you want to do yourself? Of course not. What are you mad? No, in this day and age, it's like, I don't clean the car. I don't service the car. Some people service their own cars. Some people clean their own cars. If you've got kids, you get the kids to clean the car. Some people do their own No, I don't do any of that. Nothing. I'm 65, for God's sake. What do I want to do stuff like that for? I did that when I was younger. You know, it's like, if I can get somebody to sort of put the plants in the pots, I'd employ somebody to put the plants in the pot. My friend David was very, very brave. He had a garden business, and he brought round loads of plants years and years ago. He's not with us, sadly, anymore. And there was some poor kid walking past the front door, and David went, excuse me, could you give us a lift up with these? And this kid went, yeah, okay. So we had this kid in the lift with us, lifting all these plants up. I thought I wouldn't have the nerve to ask somebody. I really wouldn't. And Ava says, if I was your PA, I would feel I've arrived. She says, when are you holding interviews? Well, you've got to fit the criteria. He's a big act to follow. It would be a step up. But he's a big act to follow, I'm telling you. He's sort of, you know, he's nailed it in a matter of months, and he's still smiling, so we can't have done too much wrong, can we? Is it MI5? Little bit of an impression there. I know, because I was only mentioning, because on Challenge, they're re-showing Eggheads. How they do that, I've got no idea. And what's her name was on there? You know, the woman who knew everything. I mean, she just knew everything. She was so intelligent. It was wonderful. Kevin says, our sales of milk in glass bottles has gone through the roof in the past couple of years. We're putting new rounds on the road, which is fantastic. News, considering milkmen were all but written off a few years ago. Yep. I'll get a copy of Country Life and get a receipt, get the dairy to pay for it. I'm not silly. It's good. You like it, actually. You'll like it. Sasha says, I'd love to be your PA. And Marlon says, Steve, I plant your pots and hanging baskets. You see, honestly, listen, ask and it shall be given. You know why? Because people are just so generous. Somebody wrote to me the other day, a rather nasty, evil little troll, who criticised my lack of education. Why don't you pick on poor people? Shall I give you a knife? You can throw it between my shoulder blades at the same time. I'll find his name for you a bit later on. We're going to name him on the programme. What an evil little person. Fancy picking on somebody because of their lack of education. Because I come from a poor family. Isn't that dreadful when people do things like that? But we will name him on the programme. Rest assured, sweet cheeks. Steve, I can do with some customer service experience. We don't, I mean, is customer experience good in this country? I thought it was fairly okay. I've discovered it's the way of dealing with it. If you deal with it in a jokey way, it works. It works. When I had to change a hospital appointment today because I've just got so many interviews. I've got 3 interviews to do today. We've got this programme to do. I shall need a little bit of a break later. I didn't fancy sitting in the hospital for about an hour and a half. So I've put it off. And it's now happening, I think, in a few weeks' time. But the lady was she said, I'll just have a check, blah, blah, blah. And she came back and I said, I've forgotten exactly what date it was that you've actually given. Oh, this is the same one. This is the one here, isn't it? This is Mark. Poor little Mark. What a sad, tragic little old person you are. He says, you can't even speak English or construct a grammatically correct sentence. What a horrible troll you are. What a nasty little piece of work, aren't you? He said, must be part of the Amateur Radio Act. You're still listening, aren't you, though, darling? Still listening, still sitting there because you haven't got anything else. How horrible. Do you go round and slag off bald kids standing at Thorpe Park? You that sort of person? Do you do that because they jump the queue? That's the sort of person you are, isn't it, really? I love trolls. The trouble is, the more you expose them, the happier they are because they're a bit sick upstairs. Johnny says, did you see Watchdog? I haven't seen Watchdog since... I don't even know who's presenting it now. Is it, why are you laughing? Why is he laughing? Oh, right. I pinched that from somebody else. Somebody else did that, actually. It was such a good line, isn't it? Jumping the queue at Disney. Yeah. Johnny said, did you see Watchdog? So I said, no, I've never seen anything so fraudulent. A rogue chimney sweep and his dad were going round to sweep people's chimneys. When the customers weren't looking, they put dead birds in the coal basket, told the customers they had a nest, and charged up to £2,000 to put a £30 cowl on the chimney pot. When Matt Allwright challenged him in a set-up job, he said he does the job because he loves birds. Oh, you get crooks like that. You do get crooks. What was the other one that they did on the television? Which I like it when they do things like that and they expose people. It's generally people who come around and say they're going to tarmac your drive. Or people say, oh, you've got a few loose slates on your roof, £3,000 later. Never buy into these people. Get a professional round. Don't do anybody who just knocks on your door and go, just seeing that, we're in the area, we can do that. Always a load of old codswallop. And it was somebody who, what did they do? Again, it was somebody who sort of claimed that they'd actually done... Oh, that's right. They were tarmacking drives, but they weren't. They were spraying oil on the drive. And they said you can't walk on it for a few hours till it dries. Crooks. Blatant crooks. Anyway, in Nick now, which is good. So, Mark, as I say, you are troll of the day. You're a sad, lonely little person, because you're obviously so intelligent. Obviously so intelligent. But they're actually picking on somebody because they're poor upbringing. How disgraceful you must be. As I say, you're obviously not a very pleasant person at all. He wrote twice, actually, yesterday. Thought it was quite funny. So it was only then we managed to get him into the sin bucket, or as we call it, the sick bucket for sad people like him. So I'll find his surname as well. I've got his surname as well. I'm sure somebody must know him somewhere. Perhaps he writes things like that to other people as well. Perhaps he's written to the McCanns. You know what they're like, some of these people. There was that woman who wrote to the McCanns, God knows how many times, and she killed herself because Sky turned up on her doorstep. You know, once a troll, always a troll, and Mark is a troll. He probably writes filth to loads of people. He probably writes to people he doesn't even know. Oh, wait a minute, he wrote to me. Right. What else? Marks and Spencer's are going to get 100 Percy Pig fans. There's one out on the news desk. Josh is a big fan of Percy Pig, to decide whether to bring back the original recipe. Oh, so it's a publicity stunt. Now we're all deciding. 100 people are deciding what happens in Marks and Spencer's. Small wonder they're closing shops left, right and centre. That's not very good, is it? And they've disbanded one of the sandwiches. The Wensleydale cheese with a, whatever it is, chutney in it. Apparently they're not doing it because Josh went to try and find it because he liked it. And they said, oh, we don't do that one anymore. And you think, well, why? And they said, oh, it wasn't very popular. And you think, well, of course it was popular. Don't tell lies. Ridiculous. And they've also axed the haddock chowder. You know, I was single-handedly keeping them going in haddock chowder. Rob says, ignore any troll. Oh, you have to give them publicity because they're so sick. And if it goes a little bit further, I just pass them on to the police. That's what, you know, that's how it works now, because you can't, you know, there was one that was jailed the other day. He just wrote some offensive stuff to somebody, and they got him in court, and he's in prison now, which is fantastic. I'll destroy somebody. Believe you me, I wouldn't have any hesitation. Steve, I woke at 4, says Jill, to hear you talking about Richmond Hill. Now I can't get out of my head the song, The Lass of Richmond Hill. I think there is a pub called The Lass of Richmond Hill. I'm pretty certain that for some reason, I know it's a song, but I have a feeling... She said, we used to sing it at primary school. She said, 1965. It's called The Lass of Richmond. Oh, right. It's something quite nice, actually. And Pauline Ealing says, I gladly pay extra for my milk to get delivered in glass bottles. Milk tastes much better. Well, I'm sure they can add you to rounds. You know, bring back the milkman. You know, that sound of the milk bottles rattling in the crates first thing in the morning. It's not all song and dances. They're, you know, in all the weathers, they're out there doing it. Jim in Stain says, I think Mark may have a few slates loose on his roof. To be honest with you, I don't think he's got a roof. I think he's a sad, lonely dribbler who's out there and he just writes offensive things to people because he thinks he's being clever. But in fact, really, he's not clever at all. And, Steve, I was travelling through the TV programmes yesterday. On the Horror Channel was Frankenstein with Luke Goss, says Jan. Really? I know that he has made... Matt, of course, hasn't made any films because he's just a bit of a drama queen, isn't he? As anybody will testify who's seen the documentary. So funny. Phil in Bournemouth says, I went out to do a 2-hour job on my Land Rover this afternoon. Do you know, before I forget, I read the other day, they're moving Land Rover production abroad. It's going somewhere else. Do you think the royal family would be so keen to have it then? Because they get all their Land Rovers freebie, don't they? I think. He said, by the time it was dark, I'd nearly finished one side. I was replacing brakes. There definitely comes a time you stop playing with spanners. You're right. I can barely move. I ache so much. Got to finish it tomorrow. Oh, and also after the recent skydiving talk, I'm doing a 3,500 feet static line jump on Saturday. Apparently there's space for one more person. It'll stay that way, Phil. There is no way under God's earth that I will ever get there. The Land Rover Defender is going to be made in Slovakia. Isn't that the ones that they all drive, I think? I'm not sure. Which one did Prince Andrew drive into a gate because he was having like a little bit of a tantrum, I think? LBC News Time, 4:30 and a half minutes to 5, Steve Allen's Early Breakfast. The good news is that the Morris men were out dancing yesterday for the 1st of May. Stephen, a friend of mine, tweeted about the 1st of May and said, oh, the Morris men are out dancing. I went, oh, there was another Stephen Fry mentioned it. There's something which is quite good. Also, the shamed MP ousted by her own voters. You know who that is. That's Fiona Onasanya, a crook of the First Order. Oh, The electronic tag one. Oh, I never lied about you. Did you, old bag? You certainly did. So they decided, get her out. Much safer, isn't it, really? So the MI5 chief, who has said, quite worryingly, that ISIS copycats are still our biggest threat. These are people, again, a few screws loose. Upstairs, you just have to make sure that, if you think something's a little bit suspect, report it. That's how it works. That's how it works. Also, the MP's anger as the House revamps its move. So they're all moving out to something terribly expensive. I don't know why. The rubbish you hear in Parliament. Honestly, I've never heard so much drivel in Parliament. Prime Minister's question time is going to be the biggest joke under the sun. Why do we do it? It's all preordained. She's seen all the questions in advance. They've got the answers. She doesn't know anything about these things. That's how it always works. And then you had, I can't remember who was Speaker of the House the other day, but I don't think it was Burko. It was somebody different. I think it was one of the deputies. Obviously, Burko was out there trying to, keep Sally under control. Plus, an ancient jawbone has been found in a cave. And you think, there's nothing the matter with that, an ancient jawbone. But this one has been identified as being from an old relation of humans who lived 160,000 years ago. 160,000 years ago. Because I mentioned to Josh Coop, who'll be reading the news with us tomorrow, I said, they found some of your relatives. He wasn't pleased. Haddock Chowder in Richmond, says Kazza. No, I was in Richmond yesterday. I look for it, believe you me. And first time under the knife, general anaesthetic, says somebody here, because hospital phoned and said they've had a cancellation. First time ever under the knife. Listen, if it's a general anaesthetic, I wouldn't worry about it. They give you a small injection, and that's it. That's the last thing you know, and then you'll wake up and they'll do it. Your show has enriched my life. Yeah, it doesn't get you through an operation, though, does it? But if you're having a general anaesthetic, that's fine. They'll have people sitting there, they'll monitor. It's so simple. They do these things every day. They do them every... They don't sort of say, today we're sort of removing limbs and tomorrow we're going to be doing cataract surgery. You have one surgeon who does cataracts or heart surgery or whatever it happens to be, and you haven't said what you're in for, but they'll be doing it all the time. They'll have you in a bit earlier. They'll prep you, as they say, which I always love, actually. I love the prepping side of it. You fill in the form. They'll ask you your age 3 million times, your date of birth. They'll ask you 3 million times just to make... Even when you're in the surgery. And then they'll literally prep you, get you ready for surgery, and then you'll wake up and it'll be finished. And you won't know anything about it, which, as far as I'm concerned, is always the safest way to go. Unfortunately, all the surgery I've ever had, apart from once, I was awake for. Even more frightening, isn't it, when you think about it? Also, they found this Da Vinci, previously unknown, in the Royal Collection. They must have tons of stuff. Every time that years ago they would, somebody would come. I think they've been gifted like horses and elephants and all sorts of stuff. Somebody gives them a gift and then they give a gift back. They did it with Kim Jong-un and Putin. He gave Putin a gift. Putin gives him a gift. They must have a whole cupboard of them, sort of like, Bid Up TV. They've got loads of old rubbish that they're prepared to hand on. Global bacon crisis. Nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us, but apparently it's worse than feared. I could live without bacon. Could you live without... I think we could all live without bacon. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest. I had steak yesterday. Fillet. And that was quite nice. And I had that with... What did I have it with? Some rice and tin of tomatoes, which I mashed up. I don't normally buy whole tomatoes in a tin. I normally buy the, whatever they call them, chopped tomatoes, which are quite nice. Anyone cross with Marks and Spencer's because they're not doing the Wensleydale cheese and chutney sandwiches should just get round to Lidl. They do the same thing in nice brown bread. Oh, God, I can't bear brown bread. Oh, I hate brown bread. It's the most awful thing I've ever had in my life. He said, for £1.69, guess which supermarket is on a roll, says Nigel. I just don't want brown bread. People go, it's so much healthier for you. I don't want to be healthy. If I wanted to be healthy, I'd be running and jogging into work, but I don't do that. Sanjay says, I can confirm that the Morris men and a lady were dancing around Croydon High Street yesterday, around 6 a.m. Nice to see them on the way to the train station. It's interesting, isn't it, to what I think so. It's such an ancient tradition. They have the hobby horse, and then they all do and then they do the banging of the things, and I love it. It's something we should, you should go out into the countryside and watch cricket on the village green. That's always something nice. Take a bottle of cider with you or milk or whatever you want. That's nice. And then go and watch a bit of Morris dancing. How lovely. That's a nice thing. But just old traditions in this country. They'll probably ban it eventually, I should imagine. With the King and with the Duke and the Queen retiring from driving, only leaves Andy, Charles and the younger boys to carry on the tradition of 4x4 travel. No, they haven't stopped driving. No, they haven't stopped driving. The Queen was out driving, I think, 2 days ago, and Ed and Phil has been driving all the time. They've got 1,200 acres to drive in around London. They're not going to worry about that. No, they drive on their own land. They're driving all the time, so they're not retiring. They might be retiring from driving on the roads, but on their private land, they can do whatever they like. The Green Lobby might encourage them to go electric, says Ron. I shouldn't imagine they're bothered about things like that. I don't think so. I don't know whether or not their Land Rovers are economical. Wasn't Harry's wedding car electric? I don't know. I'm really not too sure. And somebody says, I'm crying. You're like the older brother I never had. HR, hello. The older brother you never had, the really old brother. You know, they say that, the oldest brother. I always wanted a big family. My mother thought differently, though, just 2 of us. Whereas I was hoping, there was a woman on the television the other day, she's got 21 children. Is it 21 children or 12? Whatever it is, they've got a lot of children. And they don't go on benefits. They don't go on benefits. They're self-sufficient. They run a pie shop. Costs about 30,000 a year. All the kids get £100 spent on them for their birthdays and for Christmas. Between 100 and 250. I mean, they're lovely. I watched them on the television a few times, but my favourite programme was yesterday. My favourite programme was that bloke with the big bushy moustache, whose name I can't remember, but he's doing Escape to the Chateau. Have you seen this programme? Him and his girlfriend, they must be married by now, go over to France. They decided to buy a chateau. And very wisely, they decided to let somebody film it. So over in France, you can spend... How much do they pay for their chateau? £400,000. They've got something like 46 rooms. I think they're now up and running as a wedding venue. And somebody will remember his name. Dick Strawbridge. It's so good, this programme. I nearly tweeted going, have you seen this? It's a repeat. I'm watching repeats. Escape to the Chateau. They didn't have any plumbing. They didn't have any sanitation. There was no sewage, no electricity, no water. It's all been had to put in on a budget, and they've done a lot of the clean. Honestly, seriously, my brother's going over there. He's very excited. I think he's going to Dick's place. And then you can probably go fishing and stuff like that. Really look lovely. Really look lovely. What a nice thing. And you can pick up chateaux in France cheap before they beheaded them all under the La Guillotine. And so there's loads of them. And some of them you can pay as little as £40,000 for a place that's falling down, and you have to build it up from scratch. And he's learnt to speak French, and a really good programme. I liked it a lot, actually. I felt quite emboldened by the end of it, thinking how lovely. I mean, some of the chateaux over there you can spend... If you spent $1 million on a chateau, you're going to get something that looks like it's out of Disney. Seriously. I mean, theirs is beautiful. It comes with, I forget how many acres of land, but certainly a fair bit, and a huge moat. And it's lovely. It really is lovely. It's such a good... The upkeep is substantial, so they've had to open it up for weddings and parties and hen and stag do's and things like that. And it's really lovely. It's really lovely. So I urge you to watch it. There you go. Jim says, I thought humans were supposed to be smart. If so, why did it take 159,500 years to invent the fork? I don't know. Don't ask me questions like that. Steve, I hate brown bread too. Sourdough bread is the way for... I don't think I've ever eaten sourdough bread either. Is it nice? Oh, it's arty-farty stuff, isn't it? Artisan bread. Is it nice? Right. I tell you what I still like. I get pita bread. I don't do it very often. Once every 2 or 3 months. And cut the top off because it's too hot. Otherwise, how they cut it in the kebab shop, I've never known. I've nearly burnt my hands on numerous occasions. And then you cut the top off and I stuff it with, first of all, a squirt of mayonnaise, and then some grated cheese, and then a bit of ham on the top of it, then a bit more mayonnaise. Delicious. Delicious. 2 or 3 of those keeps you going. I wonder if Mick Jagger still lives on Richmond Hill. No, he doesn't, Nigel. Pete Townsend lives up there, but she's got the house. What's her name? The one who was married to Mick Jagger and now marries that very, very old man, Jerry Hall. She's still got it. I pass it on, if I was going up there, I would pass the house. But they all live up there. So it's nice. Not all of them have got views. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that lovely view over the meadows, which is beautiful. Baxters of Speyside were smashing can of Cullen Skink. which is the Scottish version of haddock chowder, full of haddock and blooming tasty, says John. Cullen skink. Have you ever had that? Oh, he's turned his nose up. You can tell he doesn't like it. You can tell he doesn't like it. Is it fine? That Baxter's, there used to be a woman on the television called Ina Baxter, and she'd sign every tin. I mean, she didn't quite clearly, but Ina Baxter was part of the Baxter family who made soup. Whereas I wanted to meet Mr. Hines, because he made more of the soups that I like than anybody else. But Ina Baxter, that Cullen skink, I've got to look for. That'll probably be found you won't find that in Marks and Spencer. I'll probably find it in Waitrose. But I did buy a Waitrose haddock chowder. I've yet to try it. I've had their leek and potato, but it's a thin version. A thin version, and so it's been liquidized down, so there's no sort of chunks in it. Simon in Kent says, Mr. M played your hair on my muff sound bite from yesterday. You won't be playing the Michael Caine bit, I read. And that will also be the best of this weekend. You have to hear that one, actually. That's did I tell that story? I suppose I must have done. I can't remember half the time. In parts of Michael Caine. Oh no, we haven't done that one. No. Do you know, somebody said to me, every single day, there is something that happens in your life that you could put onto the programme. So yesterday there was so much. The week before, it was the woman doing the exercise on the trains. There's another series called Escape to the Chateau DIY, says Rogan. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good. Although all I kept thinking was, how does she kiss a man with a moustache that's like a walrus? That must be horrid. Ugh, horrid. In parts of northern France, it's like you're entering the 1950s, says Ron. Delightful. I know, guillotines everywhere. That's why there were all those chateaux. So many, I think 100 men took 10 months to build this chateau or something. And you think that... And also, what was I learned the other day? Stupid fact of the day. They did a piece on the Queen and how long she's been married now to Philip and all the rest of it. And they talked about her bridesmaids. You know that all the Queen's bridesmaids, with the exception of one, are all dead. All the Queen's... She had 8, I think. 7 of them have died. She's still going, and there's somebody else who's still going at the age of 90-something. Which is amazing. You could tie a tin of ratatouille with your fillet steak. Tomatoes, courgettes, peppers and onions. Very good for you. I do like tomatoes. But Escape to the Chateau, says Elaine, is brilliant. I love his good humour, and she's so creative. They seem a lovely couple. I thought that too. You can tell something. You can tell when people are playing up to sort of the cameras and things like that. They don't seem to be playing up to the cameras. He's very he's a bit like my dad. My dad could turn his hand to most things. When we had our kitchen done, he did the whole kitchen. He was very much hands-on. And people did DIY. And this is what's his name, first name? Dick. He's... well, that'd be funny, I don't know. Anyway, he's very good. He can do all sorts of things. And it looks lovely. So anyway, I shall find out from my brother what it's like when he gets back. Be company 10 to 5, it's Steve Allen's Early Breakfast. This is where the audience come out to play, thank goodness. You know why? Because there's nothing else on the radio. Nothing else on the radio at all. Did you know that Heinz first promoted their products in Fortnum and Masons? Well, they had a big window display, didn't they, about Heinz? There's something... I just like tomato soup. And because I grew up on Heinz tomato soup, nothing else... Even though people say that this is better and that's better, I'm more than happy with that. I'm not a person of great principles. Pete Townsend lives near the Roebuck on Richmond Hill, in Sir John Mills's old house. John Mills's. Oh, I didn't know that one. I know that down on the Green, Dickie Attenborough had a house. Also, Tom Hardy resides in Richmond. It was a very popular place. And there's somebody told me the other day. What did they tell me? Who lives down the... I can't remember who lives down the road from me in Strawberry Hill. Somebody was telling me the other day. Who the dickens was it? It was somebody famous, who I don't like. So it could be anybody, really, I suppose. And probably Dom Jolly, knowing my luck. Hello! Go away. Phil Vickery, morning. Are you up doing recipes today? What delight have we got today, Phil? Something nice. He's just come back. He's been filming abroad, apparently. I always wonder when sort of people disappear for a little while off my radar, and then you see a piece about it and they go, oh, I've just been filming over here. Because I quite like it when people go and film abroad about food. I just wish we had somebody who permanently cooked for me, but it's never going to happen. Stuart says, the last general anaesthetic I had, the doctor chatted away about her secret ingredient for making a really good fish curry. Finally got to the point of revealing what it was. Before she did, she operated the syringe and then I woke up. I only remember, my only time that I was put out for an operation was when I had what did I have? It was something like a growth in my mouth, which they needed to cut away. And I went to, because my father was in the forces, we got either free or hugely discounted at a Nuffield hospital. And so it was private. So I went in there, and I can always remember it. I was wheeled in to the surgery, and I'm sort of looking there. And when you're young, and I was only about, I think, 14, you're a bit, not scared, you're just a bit apprehensive. You sort of worry. Because when they put you under, you feel like they're killing you. Because you haven't got any control over it, and they're putting you under. Anyway, they put this, like, Vaseline stuff in the syringe, and then put it into my arm, and she said to me, "Can you count to 10 for me, Stephen?" 1, gone. That was it. I never made it to 2 or 3 or anything else. And when I woke up, they'd done the operation, I was back in the room, my parents were there, because they obviously phone and say, he's back out, he's back in his room again, and he's fine. And all I remember thinking was, oh, starving. So whether it's the effect of the anaesthetic, I don't know, but I craved Marmite sandwiches. Craved them to the point of so they made me Marmite. It was private hospital, of course they make you Marmite sandwiches, not difficult. And I ate them and promptly threw up because it has a reaction to the anaesthetic. 2 burgers chopped up with mixed salad and salad cream to die for in a pitta, says Paul. See, I like salad cream too. I could put salad cream on mashed potato. That makes me a bad person, I suspect. When I had surgery in South Africa, says another Paul, it's obviously our most common name on the show today, I was taken from the ward, wheeled inside to the theatre, and not the room outside. I was then asked to get out of the bed and get to the theatre room bed where they'd be operating. It was ever so unnerving during that inside the theatre, where the surgeon and the anaesthetist were milling around with all their knives and utensils waiting to operate. Yes, I mean, I had exactly the same. They sort of pushed me to the door, and then I had to get off and walk to the operating table, which was like a chair, which lifted your legs. Why? I've got no idea, but anyway, it just did. Jackie says, I bought a bird clock some years ago so I could learn the various bird songs, and I still only know the owl. That's just to-wit, to-woo, isn't it? The woodpecker. And a cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo. That's it. I mean, you picked the most obvious ones there, didn't you? But that sounds quite nice, actually. I still think my alarm clock with waves crashing on the sand is really good. Steve, my 92-year-old mum, says Julian Deutschland, can't stand most things on television, but switches on to Escape to the Chateau religiously. It's really feel-good viewing, and cheers are up no end. When I was back a few days ago to visit, nice to see the smile on her face. It's lovely. It's such a simple premise, and they're such an innocent couple. He's not doing it. I mean, he's been on the programme before, I think, with his son cooking. I'm sure we've had a cooking programme, so he obviously thinks he's a bit of a personality. But this one's it's just really nice. You know, you can only wish them the very best of luck with it, because they put their heart and soul in. She sort of decorates and does all those bits and pieces, and he does all the maintenance together with people from the village who help out. I mean, really, it's just good. Makes a change to have something on the television versus some old bimbo and himbos on a reality Love Island, you know, have sex splash, here we go round the mulberry bush, you know, Strictly Come, whatever. Ridiculous, isn't it? Are your producers putting on weight with all the food you buy, though? No, we've given up sandwiches. We don't have any sandwiches now. We have a bit of fruit, and today it's just satsumas, which is, that's it. And some other things. But the satsumas are the best bit, aren't they? You've not eaten the satsumas, you've just eaten the other things, haven't you? Are they easy peel? They always say, when they say easy peel, I'm always hoping they really are easy peel. Do you get... Is that good? God, don't you open an orange a funny way? I bite it. I bite the skin, and then... Oh, no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. And, good Lord, honestly. Oh, stop it. No, it's nice. I do love a satsuma. They're very good. They're very good for... Here we go. I've got loads in here. Loads in here. In here. Whole army of these things in here. There you go. No, there. Okay. All right, take that, man. No, take them. Take them next door. Take them next door. Take them next door. There's nothing to panic about. Stay in your seats at home. You're all right.
Wasn't Scottish boy.
Sorry?
It wasn't Scottish boy.
Wasn't Scottish boy, no, I know. But Jane says, I love the Chateau series, but I'd been rolling in the aisles when they were installing the metal tubing up to the top of Dick's shaft. Do you know, the bloke sat on the chimney. I thought, this house is so old, it might just collapse. And I looked at the sheer drop off the side of the house. I felt quite ill. But good, actually. Dick Strawbridge is a former army officer, squadron commander in the regiment. We both served in during the mid to late 80s. Top bloke, says Martin, in Knutsford. There you go. And that's in the Royal Corps of Signals. God blimey. Small world, isn't it? I like it. I think it's a really good little... I sat down, for the first time ever, I didn't... when it finished, and they went, and next time they'll be doing... And I thought, can't they just run them back to back? Why do I have to wait for another week, to see more of this? So I'm flipping through the channels, hoping I'm going to... And then I went on to Amazon, thinking there might be a DVD. There isn't. It comes up, but there is no DVD that goes with Escape to the Chateau, so I was very disappointed. Lisa and Martin, Spikers from Guildford. I like Guildford. It's just a bit of a walk up the hill, isn't it, really? Love the show. It's fabulous. I subscribed to their emails and I received one last week informing me that Dick and Angel Strawbridge are going on tour next year in various theatres. That's what people do. They go on tour. I've already done it. I set the bar. Nick Ferrari started it. I set the bar of people coming out to see radio presenters. So now you get them. I mean, who else does it? Oh, gosh, loads of people do it. They all go out and do theatres. Some of them work. Bros doesn't work, of course, as you know, and a few other people. But for most people, you go out, if you play 600-seater theatres, that's quite nice. That's a nice thing to do. They can do a little tour, and they can go back home with some money. And then they can put it to good use. Very lucrative. Very lucrative. I should imagine that they should make at least £8,000 a night. At least. Well, in fact, you can work it out yourself, can't you? Wait a minute. Today on This Morning, Phil Vickery is doing braised chicken with lettuce, peas and beans. Do you know, that's the least... the least exciting thing I've ever heard. Braised chicken. I've never even heard of braised chicken. What is it? What's braised chicken? Is that... I've heard of braising steak. Lettuce. That... Can't get into that one at all, Phil. I'm doing my best, actually. He said, yes, Turks and Caicos Islands. Bloody hot. Oh, I bet. You see, me in hot places, even though I grew up in hot places, I would burn to pieces in a place like that. It can make me quite... only once was I quite ill when I went away to a hot place, Bournemouth, some years ago with my friend Jimmy, and I got so burnt I couldn't move out of bed. I absolutely couldn't move out of bed. I was just completely stuck. Now, I'm trying to find out... Wait a minute. Once I found my little... Where the dick is it? Honestly, ever since a friend of mine has reorganised... I bet you two have done this. You reorganised my blooming phone, and now I can't find anything at all. So annoying. Right. You just changed Siri. Very annoying. They did that the other... They didn't tell me. So 600 times, let's say, 30. Oh, blimey. So if you're selling tickets... for £30, which is about average now, 25, 30 quid, 600-seater, you're going to net £18,000 for one night, okay? Bearing in mind you have to pay the theatre and the ticket price, but, I mean, either way, they would walk away with at least £10,000, £15,000. That could go a long way if you're doing the Chateau. So that's how lucrative it is. That's why people did it. The serial con man in the papers today who mingled with the stars douses his own face with acid in court. Sean Ryder going on about Alien. He'd done it before, actually. Ken Dodd, £27.7 million he left. He must have been really stingy. And the global bacon crisis. Nice to have your company on a Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday morning already. It's now the 2nd of May. It only seems out the day. It was the 1st. Phil Vickery, because today on This Morning he's cooking. So you get this information in advance. He's doing braised chicken with lettuce, peas and beans. He says light and delicious. And, everything's so bad. Anyway, he says, fair enough. I didn't think that dish would get you going. Mind you, I could add salad cream. You could add mayonnaise. Mayonnaise on chicken. I was always told years ago when they said, you're diabetic and you shouldn't have chicken. Well, you can have chicken, but only the white meat. You can't have the skin, because the skin is the fatty bit. That's why we all like Kentucky Fried Chicken, because that's the bit that's not very good for you. And I looked at sort of cooked chicken, and I thought, I don't know, do I want to eat cooked chicken? And I don't eat that much chicken. And I'm not sure about the lettuce bit. I shall have to watch this to make sure, although actually, will I be back in time? Yeah, I might just be back in time, just to find out exactly what it all looks like. Because I do love it. I love it when Phil plays straight on the programme, when they've started laughing or something. It'd be something, somebody will say something, and they'll go... Mind you, Fern was just as bad. She'd be another one who'd corpse. Holly starts, and then Phil get... And Phil Vickery just just carries on blindly throughout the whole thing. Nothing phases him. Nothing phases him. Steve, you mentioned anaesthetic, says Matt. I broke my elbow last year, had an op at Kingston Hospital, scared the life out of me. Well, it would do, actually. And Ron says, my mate Nigel had a lovely little car showroom on Strawberry Hill Road, selling low mileage, modern classic cars for loads of money. There's loads of places like that round. You can find them all over the place. It's good. Pablo reckons the producers could do with some cake. A nice sponge. They probably could, but they're not having it. Not having it. I mean, they do do some nice cakes in Marks and Spencer. They did do a lemon drizzle, which is quite nice. I quite like that one, actually. I'm very good on lemon drizzle. Phil says it's like working with children. It is, isn't it? You know, that's why sometimes I have to pinch myself when you look at Pip on there when he's sort of doing his bit, and they both start corpsing, and then and I think laughter is terribly infectious. And you watch somebody laughing, and before you know where, and then I think at one point Holly made a funny noise or something, and Phil went, "Where's that come from?" And he started laughing, then they corpsed, and then, you know, to the point of their stomachs were hurting, and I've only had that. My mother used to get that at Christmas. That was mainly due to the sherry. But through it all, Phil Vickery just blindly goes on, "Okay, we do that." He does it, it carries on as if it's not happening. Carries on. Very clever. Very clever. Happened to me in a news bulletin, yeah. I've corpsed quite a few times, actually. I corpsed. One time, I was running, because people used to offer me interviews, which they'd done at LBC, and would I run them overnight? So, if it was something that, Charlie Rose used to work on our news and information desk, and he had an interest in railways. So he did a book about the Great Western Rail. I still can't say it now. Great Western Railway. And he said, do you want to play it out overnight? He could then say to the publisher, well, look, it played out on LBC. Steve Allen did it overnight. Which sometimes worked in your favour. Other times people used to say, when does this go out? And you go, oh, it goes about at 3 a.m. And they go, 3 a.m? Who's listening to the radio? And you go, loads of people. Loads of people. My goodness me. Sometimes 3 a.m, bigger than during the daytime. Bigger than during the daytime. And so he gave me this thing, and I started he'd done a script into it. They used to give you a script, and then you cue into the tape. And it was something along the lines of blah, 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 blah. The Great Western, and I went, Railway. And that kind of sort of, and I looked up, and the producer has fallen over. He just thought this was the funniest. Oh, look, honestly, look, it's so nice, isn't it, when sort of Josh pops into the studio. How you've never been beaten up leaving this building, I'll never know, walking out with your little rucksack on. You look like one of those sort of toys that you get in the Japanese toy shops. Does Moira Stewart go with you? How lovely. Don't think we should name drop. It's really not necessary, is it? Thank you, Poppet. I don't ask me. Listen, this is the takeover.
Did you try to replace me?
He's taking your Jaffa cakes. This is the takeover.
What are they going to call him? Kent Boy? What are they going to call him?
I don't think Kent. But anyway, close. Right. Railway. And so I said, Railway. The producer doubles up in laughter. I look up, see him laughing, and it makes me corpse. And so I then laugh all the way through the script, which, of course, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't then stop and start again. So I just laughed all the way through the script. The next day, Charlie took it off what we call the log. And he said, you laughed all the way through it. And I went, yeah. He said, why'd you do that? I said, because I thought it was funny. I said, I made a mistake. And so I was known for corpsing. On the news once, I had 2 little stories, the first one was that phone bills have gone up by a whopping 4%. And the second one, a helicopter had come down in the sea, and they called it a chopper. All I put together was whopping chopper in the same sentence, and that was me off again. And I laughed. And unfortunately in the studio, in those days, you then went to the financial news with Douglas Moffat, and then we had the sports news, and I laughed and then said, no, with the financial news, Douglas Moffat. And he said, perhaps it's this funny outfit I'm wearing. He was deadpan. He was real deadpan. And so they went, why do you keep laughing? I said, I can't help it. There's something that happens. Every time I see Josh, you just want to laugh. You really do. He was asking me today if I would fund his liposuction. I mean, seriously, there's not enough money in my bank account to sort of suck out all the food that you've eaten over the years. This is the one who goes home at McDonald's on the way back, then he'll wake up and have Chinese and things like that. Then he'll... You so do. Sometimes on a Friday, as a treat. Every day's a treat for you. I've never known a man put away so much food. It's not working with me. I don't encourage you to eat food. The look of me. That's not very nice, is it? It's a bit personal, really, honestly. A man of my age. I'm supposed to command respect. See you tomorrow. Big night for you tomorrow. Reading the news with Ian Dale. 6 hours. So that's a long time. 6 hours. So Ian, and then I'll be picking up at 4 tomorrow, as per normal, which we did last time around. And Theo will be here. He'll be. I was just thinking, perhaps we should get Theo in at the end of the show. And I thought, and Usherwood Jr.'s in as well. Really? Oh no! Batten down the hatches, super glue everything to the studio. It'll never last. I was thinking that perhaps we should ask Theo in, but then after he's done 6 hours on air, is he coming in for? He's not going to come in for us, is he? Oh, is he? Oh, poor soul. Honestly, he's going to be. I've never heard of anybody who's done that many hours. He'll have to have a lie down. So we'll have to bring in something for him. I'll have to give him some Satsuma. I've never seen him eat a Satsuma, though, so perhaps he might not. But that's tomorrow morning on the programme. So 6 hours of Ian Dale. So Darren's finished now. Has he gone back up to Scotland today? Oh, right. God, that'll be exciting. He's had an extra day. And then we'll have Theo in for a short while tomorrow just to bring us up to date. And then we're going to start getting the results in and you'll hear them first on LBC. I always like that bit. It's the only bit that makes me feel a bit proud that I'm sort of part of it. Which is quite nice. 5:10 is the time. So. There's a man here who started going out with this lady when he was 17. He's 30 now, and she's 70. And he said he's never seen a problem with sort of age differences. And I quite like that idea. I've always been a big fan of having an age difference. It doesn't make any difference, does it? Works for Barbara and Scott, works for loads of people. But Phil Vickery says, I'm sure they do it on purpose to try and put me off. They have to get up very early to catch me out. I can remember seeing Fern doing something with a muffin, and she just doubled up. And Phil goes on and she went, you're very good, aren't you? Very good. So, in all the papers today, sacked for treachery, the Defence Secretary axed over this national security meeting leak. He said nothing to do with him. He's sworn on his children's lives. He's done the whole... I mean, I don't know whether or not this could result in a prison term or not. Plus the MI5 chief who says the ISIS copycats are still our biggest threat. They're people of limited intelligence. Straight to hell. Straight to hell. They don't go anywhere else. Plus honey. Come a bit unstuck, actually. It's not the healthy alternative to sugar that people think it is. It's just as bad, if not worse. And Pret finally put proper labels on their sandwiches, but there's probably other places which are probably just as bad for sort of labelling properly. We don't label properly. I've given up. You looked at the ingredients on sandwiches, and you go, are there all these things? There's antioxidant, and there's this, and there's that, and all the rest of it. Even on those little biscuity things that you've got, I bet you if you look at the list of ingredients, it runs to about 1.5 inches of all the different things in there. There's tons of stuff in there. We don't have any ingredients that we can identify with. There'd be hydrogenized this, that, and cochineal, and something. There's everything. There's so many ingredients in stuff nowadays. I'm never sure whether or not it's safe to eat. I suppose it must be, but it probably accounts for, so... I've heard of pectin. That's a gelling agent. Yeah, is that in there as well? Good Lord, excuse me. And E472E, whatever that is. You'd need the whole chart of all the E numbers to find out what it is. It's probably some binding agent. But that's in it. Is it amazing? Is it just a little biscuit? And you look at the ingredients, you think, my goodness, just in the jam alone. And the mix, it has a cream type thing on there. There's always something else, isn't there? Tony says... And you gave me a good laugh not so long ago. I was delivering to a company near you some time ago and saw you going to the car. I wondered if the boot was really as you've suggested in the past. When you opened it, it was like Arkwright's in Open All Hours. Oh, it's always full, my boot. Always full. Probably why I get through so many gallons of petrol. Because I think the heavier the boot is, the more petrol you use. Ron says, will Nick Ferrari be nicking an hour off your show tomorrow? No, I get the results. I always get the results. I've always got them every year. So I'm here 4 till... 7. As far as I know, we're here 4 till 7. Are we here 4 till... No, yeah, we're 4 till 7, as per usual. Little Julie says, we've a very funny thread going on the Facebook group. Which actor would play your younger self and the slightly older self if a film of your life was made? We've had some very imaginative answers. I bet. Julie, I brought back loads of Maggie cooking bags for chicken from America. You throw some chicken thighs in there, shake and seal the bag, cooks in less than an hour and leaves the casserole dish completely clean. Yes, I've seen those. I don't know if you can get them here. It's a bag that's got something in there, and you literally put the chicken legs in, seal the top of the bag, put it in a dish and put it in the oven. And so when you empty it out, all the chicken is cooked in its own juices. It's quite Phil Vicker would hate things like that. That would definitely not be his sort of thing at all. But for us useless people. Grace says, I miss Watchdog. I think some dentists are like that. The teeth are perfect and I don't need to see a dentist, but they make me visit them. What for? You don't go then. I mean, who's telling you to go to the dentist? Amber says, hope you're good. Good. Bank holiday on Monday. What do you hope to do? Anything special? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's the whole weekend. It's the whole weekend. I don't think about it just being Bank Holiday Monday. We've got a fun fair down the road from me, which is Traylins. They've been going for ages, and they always take over Old Deer Park in Richmond. Not their Easter, but they're there for a few days, and they've already started setting up because they'll be open tomorrow, I think. And then we've got what's that other thing that we've got? Oh, that's right, rugby. I knew there was something. Rugby, Army and Navy. Oh, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare for Twickenham. They have to close the pubs early. Once they've got them in the ground, as many as can find it, then they start closing pubs, because after the game finishes, they don't want them on the town. And the military police are everywhere. You've no idea how many people they have to take off and out of the situation because they're so drunk. And the one thing I've always noticed, this is going to sound awful, isn't it? But the Army always look fairly fit. The Navy, enormous. Honestly, I've seriously never seen so many people. And Steve, good morning. Happy Thursday. You just woken me up. Yes, happy Thursday. Hope it's a happy Thursday today. Could be. Your mistake that led to the corpsing sounds like that corny old joke. Where do you weigh whales? At a whaleway station. The old ones are the best. Thank you, Dallas. Changing the subject, I'm thinking of putting my bedding plants in 2 weeks. What do you think? I think 2 weeks' time would be fine. It's. I mean, I've got my plants growing at the moment. Nothing's actually, just the begonias have just started poking up above the soil. Not too many of them. And obviously somebody's been poking around in there, because a couple of them, they almost dug up the things, which annoys me intensely. And somebody put a cigarette end in one of my pots the other day. You wait till I find them. They'll be going into hospital quite shortly. It's been a while since you've mentioned the boot. How are the songbirds that have been nesting there, says Jim? Well, and Tom in Southend says, Stephen Spiker, you maybe spit out my coffee. That last time that happens when you were talking about having crushed nuts on your Mr. Whippy. Bad, isn't it, really? That's like the little kid. Would you like crushed nuts? Do you want to punch in the face? That kind of stuff. It's the old jokes. There's a feature in one of the papers today, which I'll tell you about in a second. And it's a couple of lads who've been around the country finding all the rude names. For some reason, we have a plethora of rude names. We just thought it was Pratt's Bottom. No. It's moved on a pace, and we'll tell you. Can we do them all? We can, because they are actual places. I was just deciding, actually, which one of these we can read. Because the good news is that two brothers have been on a 2,000-mile road trip to the rudest places in Britain. They took selfies. The funny thing is, it's a 4-day trek. They started at Bellenden Gardens last Friday. They're both from Aberdeen. And I said to Scottish Boy, because he's from Aberdeen too, well, you must know who they are. This is Andy and Magnus Tate. And they're near his age. You must have played with them at school. There's a picture of them, yeah. Yeah, they're really unattractive. So, oh, you know them? Oh, right, he knows them. He doesn't know anybody. He's got a friend of a friend who might know them. Well, anyway, so they go round. For some reason, this country, and we still derive great senses of humour, don't we, from rude names. And I don't know why it should be terribly, terribly funny, but it appears to be. So they started off at Bellenden Gardens, dropped in on... some of them I can't read, because you're going to think the button could be used. So, they went to Willie, Titty Ho, here we go, Sandy Balls, and Wet Wang. They're all right, are they? They're the ones that are okay. The others I can't do for you, because you're going to think it's just me being terribly, terribly rude. And so I'm not going to do them, but you can see them in the newspapers today. They're all over the place. All over the place. He said it was a bit of a slog towards the end, but never did we get bored. Isn't it funny, the bit from Aberdeen? Somebody from Aberdeen who's got 4 days to waste. And so they decided to go around finding all these... It's not the first time. There's a whole book of these names, which I think we did some time ago on the programme. There's not a lot in Aberdeen. Shall we go 4 days and find some wet wang? And in Aberdeen, that's a standing joke, isn't it? Wet wang. Doubled up in laughter. Titty ho. Oh, my goodness me. I don't know how they get named. Steve, are you sure there aren't any triffids amongst your vast collection of hanging baskets? No. Jackie says, I wish they'd do chopped tomatoes in those little microwavable plastic pots they do beans in. Yes. That's a nice one. And, Steve, always super show, your new friend Mark, a.k.a. Billy No Mates, must be a secret spike who obviously loves listening. Oh, he does, but he, as I say, he's a bit simple. Can't help it. It's not his fault. I mean, he obviously picks on, as I say, people of lesser intelligence than himself, which makes him a little snob, but of course he isn't really. He's a nobody. Tricia says, I recently had a new knee and lost my appetite after the op and have lost a stone in weight, which is super. But now my appetite has come back, the weight's slowly going on. Oh, dear. Not good, is it? It must be lovely to have an illness where you lose weight. I always used to think that until I thought, oh no, just supposing it never goes back on again. And we have thin people who work in the office. I mean, when I say thin people, I mean seriously people who are seriously slim. Seriously, I can't stand next to them. I feel too embarrassed, actually. Can you ask Phil Vickery how long to roast a single beef rib joint for medium rare? I went and spent £21 on this joint of beef and scared to ruin it. I thought Mr. Vickery would know. He knows everything. We're not doing cookery advice for you. But he'll probably know the answer to that one. He's probably in the shower at the moment. Without a single doubt, my bestest favourite place name is Effingham in Surrey, says Jim. Effingham. Is that funny? I don't know whether Effingham... I think Titty Ho's quite funny. I don't know why that makes me it's sort of funny, isn't it? Isn't it? No, just me again. Coronation Street star Kate McGlynn has become the 6th to leave. She'll be written out in the year as many of the cast complain behind the scenes about morale. Well, go somewhere else then. If of course there is anywhere else. If there is anywhere else. So now they've actually lost a few people. Insiders say the cast and crew have been unhappy since the soap boss Kate Oates left, and they say the workload has become very difficult. Well, go somewhere else then. Believe you me, if you're complaining about a workload of 6 days a week or something like that, you're quite clearly in the wrong business. Re the beef joint. What's the weight? What's the weight of the beef joint? He'll know the answer. He'll tell you the answer. But we need to know the beef joint, what the weight is on it. Okay. I'm afraid you don't have a choice. If you don't have your teeth checked, the dentist will take your name off the register, which is very wrong. Well, go private. Any dentist will take you privately. I don't have to be on a register. I just go to the dentist when I need to go to the dentist. There's none of this, oh, you're not on my list or anything like that. Good Lord, no. Definitely not. So. Counting beans all day. Remember we had that bloke who counted the beans and discovered, how many there were in each of these different things. So, sausages and beans. Morrison's, 40p, 8 sausages, 306 beans. Okay, that's for 40 pence. Heinz are charging £1.37 for 8 sausages and 289 beans. Sainsbury's 70p. So Morrison's is the cheapest place, is it? Yeah, Asda's 49p for 205 beans and 8 sausages, but not as many as Morrison's. So if you want sausages and beans, go to Morrison's. Beef ravioli, 55p in Tesco. You get 34. And that's about the highest, next with Morrison's, but they're more expensive. How many baked beans do you get? Spaghetti hoops, baked beans. Sainsbury's, 30p, 447. Asda, 30p, 436. Heinz, 79p, 410. Oh dear, least value of Heinz beans. But they're the ones I like. I don't want to use anybody else's, for some reason. And then they've also done spaghetti hoops. Asda, 441 for 35p. Sainsbury's 30p for 430. Morrison's 35p. So cheap, these things. Heinz 79p. It's the most expensive brand out of all of them. So you can always... It depends whether you like the taste of something, isn't it? Steve, do you think there's a Minger Street anywhere? I would think so, yeah, of course. In fact, the producer will put it in onto Google and we'll tell you where it is. Oh, yeah, there's all these sort of... They're all out there, but they probably meant different things years ago. I mean, where you get titty-ho from, I've got no idea. Might have been somebody who worked the area or something like that. Is it? It does exist? Okay, in Florida, there's a Minga Street and a Minga Road in Indianapolis, but nothing in this country. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. Not even in Aberdeen. Not even in Aberdeen. I thought it was so funny the other day when we could look through his curtains in his front sitting room. Mother would be freaking out about that sort of thing. Whenever have tinned tomatoes, I always chop them up. I tried buying the ready chopped ones, but I've found end bits and skin on them. Yeah. John says, if you make a pie, where do you go to weigh it? Answer at the end of the rainbow. Just sing the first two lines of Somewhere. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. How does that fit into where do you go to weigh it? Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. Away, I suppose? No, it doesn't quite work, actually, does it, John, really? Back on the medication for you. Back on the medication. So. Oh, these look nice. Get them while they're hot, because it's going to be remember yesterday we told you about the weather? Not going to be as good this weekend as we were hoping, which is a little bit disappointing. We were hoping it was going to be 84 degrees, and it turns out it's going to be nothing like 84 degrees. So, gone with it. And I bought shorts. I bought shorts and everything to wear this, not out, obviously, just indoors. When I saw the great Ken Dodd perform in Hull, he had a great time bringing Wet Wang into the conversation, which is in East Yorkshire, says Kevin. Ian says, Morrison's may be cheap, but I refuse to go to a place where all the staff have multiple piercings, dyed hair and cheap tattoos. Listen, tattoos are not cheap. Tattoos are very expensive. Very, very expensive. I mean, you can't discriminate against somebody, though, can you, on the grounds of... I remember going to John Lewis once, Selfridges, and there was somebody on the ground floor covered in tattoos all the way up the side of their neck and their arms. I thought, oh, no, it just looks wrong. Just looks wrong to me. In the police force, it's quite normal to have tattoos all the way up the side of your neck and everything else. I've seen some very odd ones. Perhaps it makes them feel harder. It seems it's the same everywhere. Even dentists, if your name's not on the list, you can't come in. Well, my name's never on the list, and I go in. No trouble at all. You just say that magic word. Do you take private patients? Straight away. Straight away. So, Kylie Minogue back again, flogging the fact that she's about 3 foot tall, and she's going to be doing Glastonbury. Whether or not it's going to work for her, I don't know. She'll have to do all the hits, because nobody's interested in the modern stuff. So she'll have to do I Should Be So Lucky. What were her other hits? What were the hits that she had? Perhaps she's got some different ones that I don't know. What do you think about Katie Price's plastic surgery? Looks very unattractive. She's the bride of Wildenstein, but she's ill. She's a sick person. That's why. Her agent, or spokesman for her, was denying that she's gone on to eating this food. She had a shower the other day, which she was told specifically not to, and so her wounds are leaking. She said she had to wash her hair. I thought, I don't know why, it's not yours. Just stuck on your head, dear, isn't it, with a staple gun? But, no, she's ruined herself now. She's got little piggy eyes, doesn't look so good, and her skin is really bad. Really, really bad. Bumps and lumps all over it. It's just because she trowels on the makeup that she looks like that. But believe you me, see her in real life, it's not a good look, and now she's addicted to it. As far as I'm concerned, I couldn't care less. She can have as many free plastic surgery jobs as she wants. I fear for the future, because she's now ruined her face so much. Even the bride of Wildenstein, with all her money, which is 1,000,000 times more than poor old Jordan's got, can't do anything about it. Jocelyn Wildenstein has completely ruined her face. And once you start doing it, they go, I'll just have this little bit done here, without thinking about the consequences. So the beef joint is 1.65 kilos, Phil. 1.65 kilograms. I don't know if that's big. Morning, very nice to have your company. Apparently, Richard Whiteley was the honorary mayor of Wet Wang and owned a horse called the Mayor of Wet Wang. Oh, right, says Ian. Steve, you know, everybody's on Wet Wang now, aren't they? It says, you will know Wet Wang, which is in the Yorkshire Wolds near Driffield. Richard Whiteley was the mayor. The Look North weatherman, Paul Hudson, currently holds the title. And thank you, Moy. Sorry if you mentioned any of that. I've been walking around with cramp. Oh, dreadful. Maxine in Elstree says, where I live, we have Tittenhanger and Trotter's Bottom. Got them all now, haven't we? Simon in Telford, he says, Steve, just let you know that in Shrewsbury, there's a road called Grope Lane. Conjures up all sorts of images, doesn't it? Not really. Not for me. Apparently, listening again, says Melissa, from my post-op hospital bed. As usual, the show puts a smile on the face. And there is a village in the north of England called Penistone. It's written Penis Stone, but it's pronounced Penistone. So there you go. There's an uncouth road in Rochdale. Isn't there ever? And Howard says, upset the weather bank holiday weekend is going to be cold. I was going to wear my bikini. Oh, you'll put it on anyway, Howard, won't you? We know what you're like. You just like wearing things like that. 25 minutes to 6 is... Why am I looking at the clock all the time? 25 minutes to 6. So, front page of the paper, she's a jolly birthday girl. Yes, Princess Charlotte is 4. Just looks like any other 4-year-old to me. You know, they're just royal children. And so got lots of pictures. Also, Jude Law tied the knot with his lover. He's 46, she's a little bit... Why is it that film stars wear clothes that you look at them and you think, only you but a film star would wear these sort of things? And a motorist was banned for badly hurting a mum in a crash and then drove from court in the same car. Student Saif Sheikh hit the pedestrian. He admitted causing serious injury by dangerous driving. They gave him an interim ban ahead of sentencing. And yet, as he left Manchester Crown Court in the VW Golf, he drove during last November's smash. I mean, he's obviously a bit thick, isn't he? Really. Originally of Bradford and with no previous convictions will be sentenced. Well, I'm hoping prison. Obviously, it doesn't seem to do any good at all to him, does it, really? Plus here, Splash. I've forgotten that Penny Mordaunt did Splash. Now we know. Lots of pictures. Oh, Dutch and Go for Harry. He spent... apparently, Harry sent royal watchers into a spin by announcing a visit to the Netherlands next week. Meghan is overdue to give birth. People are left wondering how the 2-day trip to promote the Invictus Games is actually going to work out. I mean, surely, unless she's had the baby and she's sitting at home with it now going, ha, 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 ha. Because that was the idea, wasn't it? That was the whole idea, that they didn't want to do it in the glaze of publicity. They'll do it when they're ready. And as we pointed out the other day, the Queen has already visited their new house, which of course is ridiculous because she knows the house, it's hers. She's gifted it to them. Well, she's gifted it to them, but don't worry, Meghan, you won't be able to get your hands on it if it all ends up, you know, a little bit pear-shaped. There won't be any of that. It's all put through different companies and things like that. But at the end of the day, good Lord, look at that. It's a landslide. Once you see cliffs move away, they don't half go, don't they? Very worrying. And then houses just collapse and people stand there and watch them. Horrible, honestly, when you have to build. I remember when we lived in Hong Kong, we had a typhoon. Oh, look, a little dog looking at, look, please help me. Please help me. And so they did. They got the dog out. And a cat, which is brilliant. Where is that? That's police. Oh, Bolivia. Good Lord. At least they get the animals out. But when all these squatters' huts on the hillside where we were, when the typhoon came, they just all collapsed. The whole lot. Just went. Just vanished. Daddy Hole Road in Torquay. Very posh area. Thank you. And Paul in Cromer says, just back from a few days in sunny Portugal. In Norwich, there's a road called Rampant Horse Street. It makes you wonder why they call them this, doesn't it? Aldi, 4 tins of beans, 99p. Sounds good. We know Pratt's Bottom very well. Of course we do. We have people in Pratt's Bottom. We know everything there. And another one here. In the Black Country, we've got a road called Bell End. There's quite a few of those ones, actually. That's not so unusual. Slag Lane in Wigan. Probably to do with coal, I would think. That's where they used to put the coal bits. Salubrious Place is a small passage in St Ives. Oh. And somebody asked if we could have pictures of Howard in his bikini. I think if you're subscribing to various websites, you'll probably find him quite easily. Plenty of us who don't do heat, says James. I'm one of them. Weather like this, or whatever that is outside at the moment, is fine. I can do that. When it's too hot, I can't do it. I suffer badly in the heat. I'm generally the sort of person who's spraying themselves with water. We've all done it, haven't we? I think actually last year it was Darren who bought this little thing of water, and then I went and found it in the chemist. So I bought one. I've still got it, actually. Seems to last for ages, and it's pressurised water, and you can mist yourself, which is very nice. I like the idea of misting myself, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too hot at all. Plus. Good Lord, do you know, honestly, the prices things go for, a 3 3/4 inch prototype model of lesser-known Star Wars character Bib Fortuna, 3 3/4, I don't even know who that is, sold for 36,000 in Stockton, County Durham the other day. Do you know who that character is? I don't know who they are either. But obviously they're sort of saving up. Rod Liddell, in his column today, talking about, what's he talking about? How are your fuel bills looking? Also fascinating to learn that Charlotte Crosby suffers from a condition called, is it iatrogenic symistia? That means, in effect, that the reality TV star has only just got one BAP. Her boobs are merged, joined together by her breastbone. It's no more familiar as uniboob. Never even heard of it. Never even heard of it. He said, I think the same thing's happening to me. My moobs are kind of merging with the rest of the flab until it's just one great barrel of lard. I must contact Charlotte's plastic surgeon. You don't want to look like Charlotte, do you? If you've sent in a Rudy Place name and you haven't heard it, don't send it again, okay? Because some of them are just a little bit too rude. You have to think about people listening who might be deeply offended. So the ones that we read out are the ones that have passed muster. The other ones didn't pass muster. Lee says, a little trivia. Did you know that in the Lake District there's only one actual lake? It's Bassenthwaite Lake. The rest are waters and meres. Yeah, we knew that. We got that from Scottish Boy. He knew that fascinating fact. Still doesn't know these people, though, does he, really, in Aberdeen, who've done... I thought you'd know that. I thought Aberdeen is, like, really small. But obviously not. Hoe Lane in Enfield, actually where my ex lives, Steve. Also, Mark says in Bristol, we have There and Back Again Lane, and yes, it's a dead end. Josh from Hemel Hempstead says we have Uranus Road. Used to be pronounced for ages Uranus, and then we had all the jokes about that. Nobody had realised, had they, really? Peter says, I dread the heat coming, for last year I had a stroke and the excessive heat did me no good at all. In Worcestershire, a village called Wyre Piddle. Where do you live? We live Wyre Piddle. Thrush Close, says Rob, thank you. Squeezebelly Lane in Kingsbridge, says Howard. And Tomtit Lane in Moulton in Essex, says Andy. Tomtit Lane. That's good, isn't it? There's a road in Hastings called Dumb Women's Lane. I don't believe it. Don't believe a word of it. Dumb Women's Lane, we're going to check it. See, the trouble is now, you can check things out on the internet so fast. So somebody writes it in and we go, oh, we don't believe that. I'm normally quite good at spotting them. It does exist, does it? Oh, blow, we'll have to apologise now. There it is. Wait a minute, let's have a quick look. Dumb Woman's Lane, there it is. Oh, God, honestly. It's very near Cockmarling. Or Cackle Street. Cackle Street. I thought that was associated with witches. Cackling, isn't it? I don't know what cackling is, but it's some sort of laughter. We found it. Look, we've even got, God blimey, there's not much room on the road, is there? Not much room on the road. I've suddenly realised this writing on the road, which we saw on Scottish Boys Road, I thought it was actually written on the road. It's been put on, superimposed by the camera car, isn't it? Oh, that's quite a nice house. I like that one there. That's very... God, you'd worry about an accident, wouldn't you? But that's very pretty, looking out over open fields. Dumb Woman's Lane. That's what it's called. Dumb Woman's Lane, which, of course, it's very pretty. I like it down there. It's very nice. David Beckham, in a lot of the papers today, another dreary photograph of the more dreary David Beckham, posing for his son Brooklyn whilst filming a TV ad. Obviously, Brooklyn's been trusting, and after the book was panned, something chronic. The ex-England skipper, nicknamed Golden Balls by Victoria, was promoting his new face cream range. Hilarious. Face cream. Little bit wussy. There you go. No harm in giving it your dream another shot. And as I don't think actually Brooklyn appears to have a job, and Dave obviously needs the money, so he'll do anything. Would you like to do some face cream? Yeah, I'll do face cream adverts. Do anything at all. Whiskey, pants. Apparently in heraldry, says Holly, rampant means standing up vertically on one hind foot. Scotland has the yellow and red lion rampant flag. Rampant Horse Lane is referring to the heraldic horse. Yes, I've often thought about getting my own coat of arms. You can go to the people there, and they will find out things that are associated with your family. Don't think they're not going to have much joy in our family. I don't think, but I like the idea of having a coat of arms on the toilet seat. You can have it on the. Have you got a coat of arms? Oh, you're not in a clan. Don't jump on the bandwagon. You're not in a clan. The producer's in the clan. You're not in it. You're a subservient on the outside. Honestly, seriously, it's like they haven't had a clan meeting ever. They've got no idea what to do. They just sort of go around going because they've got horses now, and you go riding around and you go. like that, and then they gallop off. Traditionally, you ride haggis. You turned up on Nessie, yes. That's why Nessie doesn't exist, because you took her out of the water and she died. Actually, are we allowed to call her she? She might be a male. She might be male. I might be doing her a disservice. I think Nessie we call they, don't we? That's it. Did you have any pets at home? You just got a dog, isn't it? Is it 2 dogs? What sort of dogs are they? 2 labs. That's short for Labradors in Aberdeen, where you come from, where they don't say, we have a Labrador, Steve, we have labs. You know, they're just opening a new coffee shop in Twickenham, like it's what we need. And this one's called Lab as well, that's why I remembered it. I can't remember what it used to be. Might have been a massage parlour or something. We have a Thai massage parlour in Twickenham, and it says on the door, this is a proper place. If you ask for any of the naughty kind of stuff, they're going to report you to the police. Because people think, oh, Thai massage, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Steve, there's a Thong in Kent. Thong? Well, is that the name of a place? In Hull, we have the Land of Green Ginger. Oh, I know all about the Land of Green Ginger. That's in Hull, isn't it? Oh, you just told me. In Shipley, Glen, West Yorkshire, Prod Lane. In Cosham, Hants, Purving Road. Says Mark, who's in Hastings, which is, of course, funny in itself. Hookers Road in Walthamstow, just off Black Horse Lane, says George. Don't make me say it. There's a clip online, Steve, of a very young wild Indian elephant calf being rescued from a deep ditch. The acknowledgement of thanks from the adult elephant parents to the human rescuer as well. Can't keep a dry eye. They're very good elephants, aren't they? There was one the other day, it was crossing the road. Not near me, obviously, it was on YouTube. And the little baby elephant was with it as well. And then the little elephant came over to the car, and the big elephant followed it, making sure it was going to be all right. They're so sweet, aren't they? I like elephants. They never forget. Fine, but just not in circuses. In 5:45, which is what the time... No, time. There's a Cockermouth in Cumbria. My first love was from there, says Constantine. And there's a place in Hertfordshire called Ugly. Until recently, it contained the Ugly Women's Institute. They changed it to the Women's Institute of Ugly, says Phil. Of course. Oh, I've got the cooking answer back for you. This is the beef joint, 1.65 kilos, just over 3.5 pounds. This is for Zach. He says, I reckon set the oven, this is from Phil Vickery, to 220 degrees gas, 7. Cook for 20 minutes, then reduce the heat to 200 for 20 to 25 minutes. Remove, wrap in foil, leave for 15 minutes to rest. He says, where do I send the invoice to? I'll get you his address. There you go. A personalised, sorting out your problems in the kitchen. My P.O. box is located in Indented Head, named after the headland the post office is built on. Oh, right. Bread and Cheese Lane in Cheshunt. Well, that's not funny, is it? What's funny about that? Bread and Cheese Lane? That's not funny. We want Titty Ho and things like that. Bread and Cheese Lane, I ask you. When I get a train from Hatton Cross, I see a bus, it says it's going to Butts Farm, says Johan. Makes me chuckle. And the reason would be... And Steve, Mike says, you've got to love hospitals. I have no internet reception, yet I have you on digital radio with a near-perfect signal. Go figure. Oh, listen, I'm going to ask him me. I was halfway through listening this morning to Darren, before I had to leave, and all of a sudden the batteries in my radio went. Seems to use up an awful lot of batteries. And I'm putting proper batteries in, you know, they've got real staying power. But not happening at the moment, so I shall have to go back and find... I always keep batteries, I just got to find the blooming things. There's a woman called Siobhan O'Keefe, and she ran the marathon with this broken ankle. So she completed in 6 hours, 14 minutes, which actually is not bad. Not bad at all, actually. I mean, it's better than nothing. I couldn't do it. So I'm not about to criticise somebody. Lots of food in the papers. Lots of food. Minted lamb kebabs. Always looks nice, but I can't eat lamb. And halloumi burgers. That sounds quite nice. I've never eaten halloumi. Is it a cheese? Halloumi? Or is it something? What? Cheese. Okay. And also sweet chili king prawn skewers. They sound quite nice, don't they? I could quite go for that. I was watching another YouTube thing. They were showing somebody who was having to kill a crab and then eat... Oh, have you seen them doing it in factories? They've got a machine that literally... It's the most unbelievable thing. The crab is turned upside down, okay? The legs are... And it's all done automatically on this machine. The legs are spread out. They've got things for those people who don't eat crab, although it's all right for you. You're a piscatorian most of the time. And then it goes into this machine, which then flips it over. The crab is then on this machine, put on a thing. A blade comes down, severs the legs, and takes off the shell. All automatically. I mean, it's only because I don't eat crab. I have eaten crab paste, but I'm going to put off the idea now. Thank you. Yes, Jonathan in London, this little village in Essex called Fingring Ho. Thank you. Sounds like Chinese takeaway, doesn't it? I was on a ghost walk or a Jack the Ripper walk in London, says Ron from Pitsea, when the guy pointed out the name Passing Alley. He says it wasn't the original name before the street ordnance survey was introduced. They had to change the I into an A, as that's what it was used for, bearing in mind all the pubs around there. Oh, right. But that was no... Listen, you might as well call places like that now. There you go. Zach says, thank you, Phil. Checks in the post. They always say that, Phil. They always say that. There's a Sexburger Drive on the Isle of Sheppey. Don't believe it. I don't believe it. A Sexburger Drive. We don't believe it. I don't think it's entirely possible. Does it exist? Oh, for goodness sake, honestly. Stop trying to find these places. It makes me look silly when I'm saying they don't exist, because they don't sound like they exist. Tony is currently residing in Maidstone Hospital. He says, we're looking forward to seeing our favourite song. I've been to Paradise, but I've never been to me. Hey, lady, you lady, working at your life, sympathetic mother. And the singer was whom? Come on. The singer was whom? I've never been to... Oh, there's one in... Oh, sorry, just changing the subject. We found... Oh, my Lord. That's a bit rude, isn't it? We can't do that one. That's very rude. That's the foot word. It probably means something different in Sweden. I quite like Sweden, actually. I don't... And there's... Oh, my goodness me, a town in Austria. It's an Austrian village in the municipality of Tarsdorf, in the Invertel region of Western Upper Austria. It's 33 kilometres north of Salzburg. Imagine if you said you lived... I can't repeat it. You can imagine what it is. But people nick the road sign. That is awful. Why would you call it that? That's... Mind you, I've been to little villages in Austria, and sometimes there's like 2 or 3 houses, in which case it probably is. Although I would have thought ED on the end would have made it a little bit better, wouldn't it? So we're in this village, and we're basically... That's it. That's it. More on... I'm bored with Kylie Minogue now. Bored with her. She's... I don't know how old she is, actually, at the moment. 14 years, so she's 31... So she could be about 44 years old, but she's going to wear gold hot pants to Glastonbury, if you're lucky, lucky, lucky. A bit embarrassing, isn't it, really, where she's got to sort of tempt you to go to Glastonbury. I'm sure the fans there will love it, but I bet they're probably there to see most of the other acts. Not that I know who any of the other acts are. I only follow the Jingle Bell balls and stuff like that here. Plus, Megan Barton Hanson is in the middle of bus... Who cares? Who cares? Go away. Your career's finished, love. Thank you very much indeed. Charlotte Church is going to be doing a Channel 4 one-off documentary. It's called My Family and Me, which will see the singer and her mum and dad hide away from society as they move to a far-flung part of the UK for 5 days. Riveting. I mean, you could see Charlotte Church now. You wouldn't recognise her. Totally unrecognisable. She was married to that bloke. He was a rugby player called Gavin Henson. He was a bit thick. He was a bit thick. He sort of looked the part, but there wasn't much going on between the ears. And they married. I think Charlotte Church's parents, if I remember, owned a pub. And Charlotte used to be pictured falling out of nightclubs, basically, voice of an angel and all the rest of it. But unprecedented access to the churches, that's Charlotte Church's family, will provide viewers with an intimate portrait of a family sharing tears, laughter and uncomfortable home trip. Who cares? Who cares? Charlotte Church. I thought she was finished and washed up years ago. So there's a lot of stuff that we've never talked about. How dull. How very dull. That doesn't sound very exciting, does it? Could have done something better. Let's have some more Escape to the Chateaus, please. Can we have updates? Can we have, more things? Can we have a competition to win time in escaping to the chateau? This is this programme that I've become semi-addicted to. I do like it. It's very rare that you get a nice programme on the television that we can all enjoy and it's not offensive. There's no swearing. Well, I think occasionally they've had a couple of words, but that's about it. So, father-to-be Harry gambling on a Dutch trip and then freed by mistake to rape 3 times. This is a tattooed fugitive. He's now being hunted in connection with 3 rapes, mistakenly released from prison. I mean, God, how incompetent do we have to be? They've launched an urgent review, well, they have now, as to why 34-year-old Joseph McCann was automatically let out in February. By law, a decision on his release should have been made by the parole board because he was on a lifelong licence for an aggravated burglary. This is the one with Bobby tattooed on his stomach. They let him out. He shouldn't have been out. How incompetent are we, honestly, really? Might as well just open the doors and let people wander out. Much easier, isn't it? So. The ancient relative from Tibet, which is nice. The disgraced MP kicked out by her own voters. And this is Fiona Onasanya. I mean, she's quite clearly peculiar. Do you remember what she said in December 2018 after she was convicted? I'm in good biblical company, along with Joseph, Moses, Daniel and his 3 Hebrew friends, who were each found guilty by the courts of their day. Yeah, but you were, you crook. You were caught lying. You know, it's no good trying to backtrack, darling. They kicked you out, which is the best news we've ever heard. You really are mad as a fruitcake, aren't you, dear? But never mind. Never mind, it takes fruitcakes to make the world go round. Kylie is 50. Says Brenda. Oh, 51, says Chantel. Blimey. And Lee used to live in a condom in southwest France. Is that they were invented there? Did you know that? They called them that for that reason. Otherwise, they'd be called other things. Basingstoke. Yes, just about to go and buy a packet of Basingstoke. Doesn't quite sound the same, does it? As opposed to a packet of condom. Or condoms. I never quite understood why they brought out condoms some years ago. Luminous. Hello? Excuse me? Somebody explain that one to me. I didn't quite say... Thank you. I don't want it explained to me. I've changed my mind. But can you imagine... So that's why they were called condoms, because they were invented there. This programme's more educational than I thought. Good luck. People have been nicking that. You watch other radio programmes be going, well, condoms were invented condom. Because they could have been called, you know, Fareham or Basingstoke. Just going to slip a Fareham on. You know, it doesn't quite sound the same, does it, really? Not that I'd be saying that anyway, I'm just sort of saying it as that's the kind of thing people might be saying, and perhaps they wouldn't. Something for the weekend, sir. A Basingstoke. We've also got a Manchester for you as well, which is the slightly smaller size. Try that one. Anyway, we'll take a short break for the news at 6. God. I just found a fantastic Peruvian football team that I can't even go anywhere near. Because whichever way you say it, it's going to sound terribly, terribly rude. It's Steve Allen's Early Breakfast. With you till 7 this morning. I've got to get a book, and I've only just been reading about it, and it's not Simon Cowell, but his namesake, born 140 years before him, who invented our glorious Variety Act tradition with acts so saucy they used to make Amanda Holden blush. And they were talking here about... the music halls. A lot of music halls were attached to the back of pubs. There's one here called the Canterbury Hall, designed to attract the working classes. 2,000-seater on Westminster Bridge Road. A 2,000-seater. There was a main hall, a waxwork exhibition, a menagerie, and occasionally there were specialty acts like Blondini would walk across a tightrope. And it was all sorts of people there, you know, people paid for plush seats. In Leicester Square, we had a huge theatre. Right next door to where we are, there used to be a huge Leicester Square theatre. And in fact, there's a plaque on the Barclays Bank out the back of that's where it used to be. And I always think it's such a shame when they pull these places down. It was an enormous place, you know, big carpeted corridors. It must have been absolutely fantastic. But here, people like Vesta Tilley were going on there, giving out all sorts... It was rudeness beyond belief. But it was a bit nudge. A little bit nudge. And they had all sorts of people. There were, you know, other musical veterans specialised in double entendres with a little of what you fancy does you good, Pulling My Rhubarb Out, and all of this from Sam Cowell. Okay, there's a book out, and it's called The Palaces of Pleasure, How the Victorians Invented Mass Entertainment, published by Yale University at 20 quid. I have to get it. I mean, I just love things like that. I've been onto a website in London, which listed all the big theatres, the Holborn Empire, Chiswick Empire, all these different places, which no longer exist. They were shut down years and years ago, and yet loads of famous people appeared there. The Holborn Empire, there are little bits of it that you can see by Holborn Station, and you can go, that's where the Holborn Empire was. And people went out there. I suppose long before you had the television, people would go out, they'd sing a few bawdy songs, somebody would come on. It was always said that a musical entertainer in London could work all of them and would never be repeated. So in other words, there were that many of these places that you could go out of course, television killed that. Once you've been on television and done your act, everybody had seen it. In the case of, you know, the Vesta Tillys of this world and the Little Flying Devil, who were out there, they were all promoted very heavily by Sam Cowell. Now, whether or not he's related to Simon Cowell, I've got no idea. Oh, he's no relation. But he was a performer himself. People would come on stage and they'd sing these bawdy songs. I think Vesta Tilly used to walk out with an umbrella saying, "I've not had it up for ages." And people, can't believe it, all that kind of stuff. You think we're getting off on road names. Chris in Ottershaw says, I was brought up on the Butts Farm estate in the 50s. It's in Hanworth, Middlesex, not far from where you live. Far enough away, thank you. There's a whip me wop my gate. Don't know the reasoning behind it, but it's round the corner from the Shambles, says Anne. Oh, a whip me wop my gate. I don't know what on earth. I can't even hazard a guess at what that is. Up north, we've got a place in North Yorkshire called Fryup. Oh, you haven't. Tell me they haven't. And in County Durham, up the road, is a place called No Place, said Richard. And Errol says, I'm thrilled to hear you talk about Escape to the Country, a chateau. I discovered it a few months ago and love it. It's like taking off tight shoes. It's so good. I'm glad you all like it, because I seriously sat there and I thought, I must tweet, watch this programme. If you've not seen it, it's just nice. It's just nice. I wish them the very best. And also, says Daniel, I'm addicted to Escape to the Chateau. Have you seen the spin-off, Escape to the Chateau DIY? No. And Helinka says, I too have become hooked on it. I watched Little Arthur growing up, and each time I see him on screen, he grows more and more like his dad, Dick. A little clone. An enchanting programme, isn't it? Middle of nowhere, and there's this chateau, and they work so hard to get the heating. At one time, they only had heating in one of their rooms. And that was, and you felt sorry for it. They must have frozen to death in winter. I think the family moved out to somewhere else, and Dick stayed in there. Mr. Cowell, by the way, just going back to him, this is Sam Cowell, not Simon Cowell, didn't live to see Acceptance. He was broken by overwork. He used to drink a bottle of brandy a day. He died in Bournemouth in 1864, aged 44, leaving a wife and 9 children. Interesting, isn't it? But although his name is largely forgotten, his legacy is still with us, and that would surely prompt even his curmudgeonly 21st century counterpart to give him the most enthusiastic of golden buzzers. I'm going to buy that book. That sounds like my kind of book. But this website has got all these old theatres in London, which were there, and then they pulled them down. I mean, just before we turn, or just after we turn right onto Waterloo Bridge, when we go back in the morning, there was the Gaiety Theatre on the corner, a huge theatre, which remained empty for donkey's years. We had so many theatres, and I'd love to have owned a theatre. Can you imagine? How lovely. Steve, there's a road in Braintree called Pig's Head in the Pottage Pot. Gant, says James, in somewhere called Silver End, which sounds quite nice. I liked a place in Greece with Brian and Andrew and the Welsh couple. Brian was such a hoot. They did 4 in a bed the other day, and they had the couple from Googlebox. The posh ones who drink. They were on it. A very, very posh house. Very posh house. And hello to all the people in hospital. It's been a very scary time for all of them. Been there, says Debbie. Lots listen to you. I know. We get all sorts of people listening. People go, do you listen to Steve Allen? Yes. What, every day? Yep. Every day. And the weekend? Yep. What, on Sunday? Yep. Is he here this weekend? Yep. He is. He's here this weekend. Bank holiday weekend. I shall be here Saturday with the best of Steve Allen for this week. Lord knows what it's going to contain. And then In Conversation. And this week for In Conversation, I'm not going to tell you who it is. I shall tell you tomorrow who we've got on the programme. And we've already sorted out next week's as well. We're so ahead of ourselves. Producer is working overtime. He really is. I love the chateau, says Pat in Brentwood. France is so clean and spacious, unlike the UK. I know. My dad, Martin, says Jem, is shown in the closing credits of 84 Charing Cross Road. It's the first black and white photo, and he's on the right-hand side reading a book. There you go. That's nice. Sandwich has a road called No Name Road. Not much imagination to that one, says David in Brentwood. And Patsy is unwell in hospital for months with lupus disease. He's your biggest fan. That's what we like to hear. I don't mind you being in hospital. We just need you out of hospital as quick as possible. But eventually. But it's difficult. If you're in a hospital, people are constantly giving you time checks, aren't they, on local radio and stuff. We don't do that. Because if you are in hospital, you don't want to be reminded it's only 3 minutes since the last time I spoke to you. So we always try and miss out doing time. I do them when it comes up to a junction, but the rest of the time, I'm sorry. I'm absolutely useless for you to rely on. And it's 6:10. Okay, I just want to mention that quickly now. Also, another one here from the mothers given tainted blood after the NHS began checks. This is fairly scary. Plus the bluebells in bloom that brought Monet to the Midlands. And this is lovely. This is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know where it is, actually. Oh, it's the National Trust-owned Clent Hills in Worcestershire. The trouble is with these bluebells, you have to just leave them, don't you? You can't walk through them because then they trample them underfoot. But very nice. I think probably because it's a mild spring. Although yesterday I did get out there and water all the basket, not the baskets, the pots and the tubs and all the rest of it. Did you know what leads you to a happier life? They've done research on this. They have proven this leads you to a happier life. And I have to be honest, it works for me. Do you know what it is? It's a free bus pass. Having a free bus pass means, one time I wouldn't get on and off bus. Now I don't care. I just get on a bus, go a couple of stops. One stop I go. If I'm shopping in Waitrose, I only need to go one stop. People say, you're not going to do that. I blooming well am. It's free. It's free. I got on the train, not yesterday, but the day before. Free. The main train. The chuff-chuff thing. But they say now that those who receive concessionary travel are more likely to enjoy a better quality of life, have greater life satisfaction, and fewer symptoms of depression than those who don't. Wow. Amazing, isn't it? I was quite excited. A friend of mine hates it. He says you can afford to pay for it. I said, I know, but I've worked long enough to get... I don't get many things for free. Well, apart from medicine and the buses and the trains and the tubes. But it's lovely. It's very satisfactory. Very satisfactory. Jimmy from Corby in Northamptonshire, probably where the trouser press came from, I should imagine. I live in an area that has all Nordic names. I live in a street called Greg Walk, spelt with the E before the I. However, there are 4 road signs in total, 2 of which have the incorrect spelling of Greg Walk with the I before the E. The first time I noticed it was while I was walking home from a late party. A bit worse for wear. I thought I was losing my marbles. I had to check again the next morning. There's a city in Turkey called Batman. Should be twinned with a town in America called Robin. And I'm sure Charlotte Church's parents were on 4 in a bed a few years ago, says Mick. I think you're right. I think they were. That also rings a bell with me. That's you think about that and you think, I'm sure I've seen them before on the television. But I'm not interested in Charlotte Church. She was the voice of an angel. She was discovered by Jonathan Shalit. He was the man who really is masterminded with sort of bringing her to the British public. They put her on television. People went, wow, what an amazing voice. Then she discovered alcohol. And it went a bit downhill, didn't it, after that? I'm sure there are lots of stories, and I'm sure that Jonathan could probably tell you about them if he was mindful of. So, Line of Duty, not seen it, but they've all got dogs. I keep meaning to get a dog. And then I keep thinking, no, what am I going to do with a dog? I don't know what to do with it. Happy birthday today. May I have the next dream with you, babe? Who's that? Les Bicyclettes de Belsize. Engelbert Humperdinck celebrates his birthday. His first hit was Please Release Me, Let Me Go. How old? Come on, you'll never guess in a million years. 83. 83. I had dinner with him once in Austria. He was playing Vienna, and they decided he wanted to go out to a typical Heuriger, typical place which grows its own grapes and wine, and I got sat next to him. Don't ask me how it ever happened, and he was talking to me about all sorts. He was really lovely. I love him. I think he's great. And he's sold more than 150 million records worldwide. He's still going. They don't stop. These people don't stop. Also, Donatella Versace. The company's worth about 600 million, and she's 64 today. So many happy returns. If you're I've got another one for you, actually, which I'll tell you about. It's people who aren't with us anymore, but both very, very famous. One who I had in the studio years ago, who came in and said to my guest, I did a show with you on the television. And the guest went, so you did. And I'll tell you exactly who that person is in a moment. Body, I noticed, Steve, says Andrew, LBC hardly does time checks, and I really like that. We rely on time far too much these days. Nice to have a break. Anyway, it's easy to work out the time, the adverts, the updates, and all the rest of it. It's 6:20. I remember somebody writing in to me once and saying, excuse me, why have you not done the weather? And I go, look out the window. Look out the window if you want to know what the weather is. Listen, if it's raining, take an umbrella. If it's not, don't take an umbrella. If you go out and you haven't taken an umbrella and it rains, you're going to get wet. It's fairly straightforward, honestly. People rely on so many people nowadays. You know, I couldn't get through the day without hearing what the weather's going to be. This preoccupation that the Brits have with the weather. I mean, in this country, as you know, all the seasons in one day. We've had snow, we've had ice, we've had hail, we've had sunshine, we've had rain, we've had just about everything. There's nothing more that you need, is there? But I quite like that idea. And Julie says, I love that you have a free bus pass, but don't understand why. At 63, women like me have to wait until we get to 66 for one if we're living in England. But outside London, I don't know. I mean, I got mine... I've had mine a little while now. I think I was 60 plus. Something like that. Wait a minute, I can tell you exactly what it is. I've got the blooming thing in my pocket, happily sort of wandering about in my mind. It's called 60 Plus London. And it runs out September... Oh, it runs out September this year, and then it's changed automatically. They will write to me and update it, and so I then get the same one but different. I can't remember what that one's called, but I love it. I love it. Going on the bus for free. Outside of London, nothing at all until you're 65. There you go. An opportunity to move into London. It's worth it for the amount of money you can save. I mean, if I really wanted to go home every day for free, I'd just get the Underground. I just don't like the Underground. Not for any other reason apart from it's just a bit grubby. Did you know that the Savoy Theatre, Richard Harris was the longest staying guest there? He never owned his own house. He preferred to stay in hotels. There was somebody else, actually, who used to stay, an American. Elaine Stritch used to stay in hotels. I think she stayed at the Savoy many, many years, and then she moved on to another hotel, and so she'd always mentioned it in her interviews. Quite clever, actually, really. You could bring a dog to work, Steve, and put it on the live stream. You'd break even more records. Probably get its own show. Well, that's the worrying thing. The worrying thing. On the way back to my hotel after a fab night at Lips Drag Queen show in New York. A fun night and highly recommended, says Ursula. We have it over here. We have... there's a place up in Blackpool. There used to be, in London pubs years ago, there used to be a lot of drag. You don't see drag so much now. It's sort of been confined. When I was younger and came up to London, there was Lily Savage working as many pubs as he could get in an evening. He would do four gigs a night. Seriously, he would do 4 gigs a night. He worked so hard. And there were loads of other people, the Firebirds, and there were a lot of miming drag acts. I used to like and then all of a sudden it went totally glam. And then you get caught in the act and you go, I mean, it's not physically possible. That just looks so unbelievable. There were 2 the other day on a dinner dates thing. One of them looked like they used to be an affair, and then they asked some questions like, you know, would you go back out with each other? And obviously not, because 2 drag queens doesn't kind of work. And one of them wasn't a very good drag queen, and the other one obviously was very good and got lots of bookings. But I don't know how big the scene is now. I'm not sure whether or not it's confined to pubs out of London. There used to be the Cricketers in Battersea, the Royal Oak in Hammersmith. There were tons. I mean, that's only 2 I can think of, but there were tons of places where you go and see drag, and it was rude. It was rude. The Black Cap in Camden Town was notorious for putting on some fabulous acts, and you'd go up there, and it was an entertainment. You know, you could even sing along. Seems unbelievable in this day and age, just singing along. We like singing along. So rocker Shaun Ryder has revealed he had a close encounter with aliens after they invaded his home in a tiny spider spaceship. Now, I'm not sure whether or not he's serious or whether or not he's mad as a broomstick. He's claimed he saw an unusual craft with legs like a spider that scuttled along his windowsill before changing shape and flying away. It's a spider. Okay, it's a spider. He said, I wake up one morning and there's this thing that looks like a spider moving across the windowsill. It's got red lights going across its back and 6 legs. So it's a spider with lights on. It was hand-sized, 5 or 6 inches, and made no noise at all. And then it goes where the window is, and an aerial goes up, and it goes up to where the window is open, and then it changes shape. You've been watching That Battery Is Not Required, haven't you? That's what you've been watching. He says, it sounds like I'm making it all up, but it's all a load of but it's not. He also claims that he has been a heavy drug user, I should point out to you, that he saw one as a teenager. He's also previously claimed that intergalactic beings landed in his back garden. He was that heavy a drug taker. I'm sorry, there's no such thing as little green men or little spacecraft with coloured lights. There's probably, somebody who's had a few bevies. Mind you, it must be some bevies, if you can imagine. Because I've had bevies in the past, and I've never imagined something coming and landing on the windowsill. It's all a bit odd, but people want to believe in it. I think because if they bang on about it often enough, eventually some other Looney Tunes will go, I believe you. I believe you. It's like somebody the other day, I was quite gratified, actually, because ghastly old baggage, Bride of Wildenstein, Jordan, started advertising some diet thing again. And I've said to you before, don't touch anything that is put on these people's websites. They know nothing about anything at all. And somebody actually wrote to her, but quite a few people, saying, who on earth would be taking dietary advice from you? And the answer is, you shouldn't. If you need a diet advice, you go to the doctor. That's what they're there for. You certainly don't rely on some poor woman who's addicted to cosmetic surgery, who's completely ruined herself. Sharon Osbourne has lifted the lid on her suicidal thoughts. She's admitted she considered killing herself 3 times. She says that the battles never end. She told a US show, I mean, she's been married for 37 years. I'm not sure what sort of a marriage it is, but, it's quite good. She's had at a very low point, she said, I was very frightened about what was going on with me mentally. Do you know, I must be really lucky. I've never gone through these kind of things. You get these people, they've been on Love Island, and somebody the other day, oh dear, I mean, really, talk about milking it. Do you remember the poor bloke from Love Island who took his own life, Mike Thasalisis? And his secret girlfriend, whoever, was in the paper the other day saying, you'd be so proud, I don't know who she was telling, you'd be so proud about what they've done to your little restaurant. So nobody could understand whether or not he had money or he didn't have money. She said he used to phone me up and run through the recipes for this cafe kind of thing. And she said, oh, it's really lovely. He was very into interior design. I thought, well, quite clearly not. Quite clearly not. And anyway, she said, and I went to the restaurant the other day when they opened it, and the food is delicious. People should check it out. And I thought, you're just doing publicity for something. You know, it's very difficult to say what was the matter with him or what wasn't the matter. Whatever it was, there was nobody there. Nobody there to actually help him out at the time that they should have been helping him out. I'll be talking to the mental health campaigner, Johnny Benjamin. You might remember he did that Find Mike campaign. Do you remember that one? To find the man who talked him down after he was about to take his own life on Waterloo Bridge. And thanks to some good people on social media, I know, he found him. So we'll have a chat to him, because it's very much in the public domain, very much. Halfway to Heaven, just off Trafalgar Square, says Tim, has great drag acts every night, does it? It's only about the size of a postage stamp. And yesterday we went past, it was all cordoned off by the police. What went on there? Something must have happened. Julie from Sidcup said, I've been waiting for an hour and a half for you. The internet went down. I've missed part of the show. Then I got connected. Well, all you need to do is you need to go to lbc.co.uk, download the LBC app, and you can catch up on all the bits that you missed. Steve, the old ship in Barnes Street in Poplar, great drag acts and a decent pint. So you never tempt me with a decent pint. Good drag acts you tempt me with, definitely. But so many of them are mime nowadays. There used to be a lot of miming years ago. People had an act that was sort of said. Even the speech was mimed as well. Steve, please tell the UFO man that spiders have 8 legs, not 6. And was that the famous sploff that Sean Ryder saw on his window, says Andy? I mean, to be honest with you, it's not, I mean, it's completely mad, isn't he? Completely mad. Because the trouble is, he wants to believe in it. And Jeff in Maidstone says, to be honest, the story about the spaceship isn't that far away from people that believe in God. Same amount of proof. Well, I don't think God's in a spaceship, is he? But God's an entity. He doesn't physically exist in a body. He's just an entity. I always imagine it as being like a moving sort of shape, but shapeless. But slightly different from people who want to believe in the Loch Ness Monster and flying saucers coming down. From where? From where are they coming? What are they powered by? I mean, it's just rubbish. But if they believe it, they really want to believe it. They will sit there and argue. Look at David Icke. He thought the royal family were lizards. Mad as a fruitcake. Should have been sectioned. Absolutely mad as anything. But people laughed at him. And nowadays we don't bother with all these people. It's like listening to anything that Jordan says. Goes in one ear, comes out the other. You know, the poor woman. Because the press like always getting it wrong. Oh, don't feed them stories then. Makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? LBC News Time. 6:03 at 7 this morning for breakfast on LBC. Gavin Williamson is no longer the Defence Secretary this morning after he was blamed for leaking information from a national security meeting. Nick will speak to one of his former advisers and find out just how serious this could become for the South Staffordshire MP. After he was jailed for almost a year for skipping bail, the US has begun its efforts to extradite Julian Assange. Nick will be joined by the WikiLeaks founder's father. Plus, was the police officer investigating your burglary really qualified to do the job? Nick will be finding out why they might not have been. Yesterday, directing all the traffic in Richmond, which was a nightmare, one poor policeman standing there. I mean, we really obviously went, would you like to go down and sort out the traffic? An hour and a bit to get through Twickenham. Absolutely awful. David Teague. Morning, David, who's in yesterday. I thought the only day this week I was not here. I was here to do the programme, but I didn't have anything afterwards. Today, I'm here because I've got 3 interviews to do today. But David says, loving the show. Do you think the village of Fiddler's Hamlet in Essex was the inspiration for Sid James's character, Sid Fiddler, in Carry On Girls? Did you know... Well, the one thing, of course, that you must have known, David, is that Sid James was Sid in every one of his parts. In all the Carry On films, he was Sid. I didn't know that in Carry On... I loved Carry On Girls, filmed down in Brighton, on Brighton Pier, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Actually, it was one of those films which it just worked for me. It just worked for me. But then I quite liked the one which was about the highway robber, where he played a vicar, but he was also Sid, whatever he was. I can't remember. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. But actually, it could have been. They used to go round, I think, didn't they, graveyards to find names of places and people's names. When people are putting it into books, they used to go around graveyards and find different names. Steve, are the shops open yet? I need to go out and buy bacon, bulk buy. Well, they've said this world shortage. I've not noticed any shortage. I've managed to be able to buy bacon every day. I don't buy it every day. Steve, I've done a quick Google, says Holly, and the name Alan ended up in Ireland from some Scottish Campbells moving over there. There's an Irish coat of arms, including the helmet of a suit of armour and 3 dogs. I'm probably related to Scottish Boy. If truth be known, he'll be the poorer end of the family. You know, we'll be sort of the ones with the title baronet or something like that, lived in a castle. I'd love to live in a castle, but it'll be cold in winter, I should imagine. Why is it when the Americans wake up, Steve, with no recollection of the previous hours or days, they blame it on alien abduction, whereas the rest of the world blames the same experience on beer? Yes, it's always that. Why does spacecraft land down in the middle of Missouri, or some crackpot old woman sitting there? He came down and he took Minnie up there, and they were experimenting on her, and we ain't never seen nothing like it ever again. And you see these people, and they put them up on television programmes, and we all go, oh, they're really interesting, aren't they? Mad, but interesting. Gavin Williamson keeps spiders for a hobby, but now seems to have been caught up in a web of intrigue. He could go to prison. He could. I mean, when he used to be chief whip, he kept, as you know, a tarantula in a jar on his desk as part of his attempts to scare Tory MPs into doing what he was asking of them when they came in for meetings. It was called Cronus. Cronus, I remember it distinctly, after the Greek king of the Titans. Don't know if he's still got it or not. Mad as a fruitcake, though, isn't he? He's Looney Tunes. Why do these people get promoted into these things? He's sworn blind that he's nothing to do with this. And I don't know because I'm not there, but Nick will find out a little bit more this morning. Looking forward, Steve, to welcoming the Players Theatre with the wonderful Jan Hunt, Crackerjack, back to Bearsted in our annual event for the older generation in October. Tony from Bearsted in Maidstone Hospital, hopefully having an angiogram today, so I can go home. Oh, yes, you'll have the well, if you have the angiogram, you will be home today. That's only just connecting you up to the thing. I had it, last time I had it, I said I didn't want to do the walking on the treadmill. I didn't like that, so they just literally lay me down on a table and stuck my body with all these different stickers. That was how I had it done the last time. So, it goes. I saw Sean Ryder at the Cadillac Hotel in Venice Beach, California. We just arrived and were hanging around the lobby when he stumbled out of the elevator clutching a bottle of Jack Daniels. He was the man who got TFI Friday banned from doing live shows because of his language. They had to pre-rec us live thereafter. I know, because I was a runner on the shows. Those were the days Danny Baker and Chris Evans were great to work for. There you go. Bring back the 90s, says Zach. Yes, I agree. I thought it was groundbreaking. I'd forgotten, actually, that Danny Baker was on that. But was that why they changed it? Because of the language. I see really bad language on television now. I mean, even programmes which you wouldn't associate with it at all. Still plenty of drag shows at the Two Brewers in Clapham. Most nights, Jimmy's still there, formerly of the Black Cap. Sunday shows especially good, says Perry. God, I've not been up to the Black Cap. Dale and I went up there a few times, up to the Two Brewers in Clapham. It was packed, and I saw David Dale up there. So lots of famous people. Steve says, Angie, I imagine Scottish Boy to look like a young Sean Connery. Think again. Sadly not. More like you Virginia Doubtfire. That's what he's more like. That's what he looks like. Zach says, wish my partner John Ward a happy birthday. 64 today. 64. Well, I'm nowhere near that, as you can imagine. Eb says, just yesterday at an Open Door London, a group of 50-plus LGBT members meeting, we were talking about the dearth of venues for drag artists to perform at, and whether the Black Cap would reopen, as it should be listed. It's going to turn into a house, aren't they? It's closed for a long time now. As to venues, acts could perform every night, as there were so many. Yeah, there were so many, now there's not. Because you've got to get the entertainment licence. The Black Cab was famous. How they ever sold it on, I've got no idea. Seriously. Dreadful. My friend John has a shop, as you know, a travel agent up in Camden. He was the first one to tell me about the Black Cab. He said it's closing. I went, oh, I saw everybody up there from Mrs. Shufflewick all the way through to, oh, Lord, oh, loads of people. Just loads of, I remember sitting up there on a Sunday afternoon singing, if you please. Not actually on the stage, but singing. We used to love stuff like that. It was all very good. 20 to 7. We don't do time checks on this programme. There's no point. They've done another series in the paper on the mythical monsters, and no, they don't exist. You know, the Yeti, and all that. And apparently they have different versions of the Yeti around the world. It's all rubbish. All rubbish. Marks and Spencer's, having told you that they're changing all their sweet recipes to make it vegan friendly. It's not very good at all, is it? They're going to get 100 Percy Pig fans to decide whether or not to bring back the original recipe. The idea being, I suppose, that they think they've screwed it up. A little bit of publicity for Percy Pig. I don't even know who Percy Pig is. Is it a cartoon or is it just made up? It was Peppa Pig, wasn't it? Who's Percy Pig, for God's sake? It's a little... Yes, I know it's a sweet... Nothing to do with Peppa Pig, is it? They've just capitalised on it. Do you know, I picked up something the other day. Where was it? Oh, it was mayonnaise. I saw some in the kitchen here. And I thought, oh, that's lovely. Somebody's left, because I like mayonnaise. Some Hellmann's mayonnaise. Exactly the same bottle and design, but it wasn't. It was Tesco's. But they pinched the label. It was one of these looky-likey things. Steve, might be confused angiogram with an electrocardiogram. An angiogram, that's the one for your heart, isn't it? Wait a minute, we'll just have a little check. A little check. The angiogram was where... Wait a minute, he shall find it. Your blood vessels. Oh, I've had that. That's where they push down, isn't it? Oh, I've had that one. I've had that. You'll be out in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes. This is the one here. They examine blood vessels. Blood vessels don't show up, blah, blah, blah. So the blood through the artery that supplies the heart muscle is disrupted. Can be used to plan procedures such as angioplasty and stenting. I've had them. I've got stents. I've got 6 stents, 7 stents, 8 stents. I can't remember what I've got. You can have quite a few of them, but I've got all the stents. So I'm never confused. Never. Might forget things, but never confused. Ollie says, what's all this about a shortage of bacon? Funny how this shortage comes a few weeks after we were told eating too much bacon could cause cancer. I like bacon every so often. I sort of cut it up and put it into rice. Makes it sound like a cook, but as anybody would tell you, I do not cook. Do not cook. Another one here. You're ignorant if you think planet Earth is the only planet out of trillions in the universe that's able to support life. Aliens exist. No, they don't. You're mad as a crooked woodpecker. You're so mad. There's nothing at all. Steve says, I've just dropped my phone texting you and the screen is smashed. That'll cost you. Listen, I can't help it if you're drinking at this time of the morning. It's got nothing to do with me at all. And with all the news at the moment about whistleblowers, if you worked in Parliament and had access to scandalous secrets, would you blow the whistle? Yep. Of course. If you hear I hear loads of things, but at the moment you don't do anything, do you? If you think it's going to hurt somebody, then you don't do it. On this particular one, you're talking about the one who got sacked. He said, and he's sworn on his children's life. I don't know if that makes a difference nowadays. When somebody says, I swear to you, I hadn't anything to do with it. She thinks that he did, so he went. What can he do? Simon in Stockholm says, I worked as a lift operator during the famous Harrods sale, when who should step into the lift but Sid James. He got out the 4th floor and couldn't resist by saying, carry on shopping. So that's what you... sorry. My phone started. Yes. Sid what? Siri James. Oh, sorry. No, don't. If I do that, I've turned it off. So couldn't resist saying carry on shopping. Do you know they never did a carry on shopping, but they did do a very good one. Carry on regardless. Carry on regardless was great. It was a very good early black and white. First one was, I think, Carry On Constable. And then I think Carry On Regardless. And that was, it was the Helping Hands agency. And some of them worked in department stores. They were really good. They were so good. Such good little films. Still going today. My cousin, Zade used to perform at the Black Cap. Sadly, she passed away, says Vanessa, from a drugs overdose. Sade. Oh, I can't remember who that was, actually. Something's coming back, but I can't remember what it is, actually. Steve, years ago, I took my girlfriend, now my wife, to an aquarium. She was amazed at the seahorses. She thought they were mythical. No, and they were unisex, weren't they, seahorses? I think they're not unisex. They're both male and female, aren't they? I think. No, it's not intersex. There's another name, not hermaphrodite. Same thing. All right, hermaphrodite then. Didn't Sid James play Mark Antony in Carry On Cleo? I can't remember. I thought he was Sid in just about everything. And he did. He did play Mark Antony. What were the other? Because that was the one which had, was that the infamy? They've all got an infamy line. So, Sid James is Mark Antony, Kenneth Williams, Julius Caesar, Charles Hawtrey was Seneca. I mean, he was unfortunately drunk most of the time. It was a little bit of an embarrassment. In fact, he even tried to get work after he was dropped from the Carry-Ons. He then tried to get more work. Sheila Hancock, John Pertwee, also, who else about? Peter Gilmore. Joan Sims, loved her. Jim Dale. Amanda Barry was Cleopatra. She was lovely. Julie Stevens, Victor Madden. It was a great cast, actually. Warren Mitchell as Spencercus, was as Marcus and Spencercus. Wanda Ventham as a pretty bidder. She was uncredited, but we know she was in it. And some great people. They was such a big cast. Such a big cast and such good films. Time check. I know you panic about these things, so we'll tell you now. It's 14-minute company, 9 minutes to 7. Steve Allen's early breakfast on LBC till 7, and then Nick will be with you for breakfast. It's going to be a very interesting breakfast this morning, and then tomorrow there's going to be lots of stuff going on, as you know. David Teague says, of course we love Barbara as Hope Springs. I just thought that was wonderful because it was supposed to be Hope Springs Eternal, wasn't it? And she was there, always sort of terribly busty. He says, hope she's doing okay. She's not doing very well, actually, at the moment. She's really not. But Scott raised all that money. About 155,000, I think. They wanted 100,000, 155. And so that's it. They soldier on. They soldier on. Eric says, I do remember you doing your moves to Regina Fong at the Black Cap. Actually, my friend used to make all the tapes for Regina Fong, all of them, include every one of them. And now I remember Jade, who worked with Regina, was known as the skinny bitch, and did the "I'm telling you" and through the Well, was that the fur coat as well? I seem to remember. I'm sure it was. But Black Cap, Dave, when it was open, Tony Page, Pip Morgan, the Harlequins, I remember very well indeed. They came in on LBC. Adrella, Mark Fleming. Oh dear, Mark Fleming used to try and look after a couple of people there who fell under the alcohol. He'd say, right, who's given so-and-so alcohol? The Disappointed Sisters, Double Two, Two's Harmony, Sandra and Lucia in the final years, the Drama Queens troupe under the direction of Spike Rhodes. But Jade, I remember very much. Skinny person. Skinny person and threw the fur coat on the floor. I remember that. Happy days. Sid James also acted alongside Tony Hancock. He did. Thank you, Ebbs, incidentally, for telling us about the Dream Girls bit with the skinny bit. I remember it so well. I think you'll find. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube. Regina is on YouTube. But my friend made all the things, including the Danny LaRue tape, which was lifted from LBC long time ago. Tony says, I was hailed in South London by a couple of northern men who were working in Clapham for a week and wanted a late bar on a Monday night, so I took them to the Two Brewers. As they stood outside my cab looking at the drag artist having a cigarette, I heard one say, it's full of mincers. To which the other one said, who cares? It's got beer. Absolutely. I never understood why people sort of used to... I think sure that straight people used to think if you went to a gay bar, there'd be a very good chance you'd be touched up. In your dreams. In your dreams. Angiogram, says Jacqueline, is directed through your groin up to your heart. Echocardiogram is the ultrasound light when you're pregnant. ECG is when you have the stickers on. Angiogram is quite invasive compared to the others. They normally sedate you and you have to be careful afterwards at the site in the groin. You see, they went in on my groin to do the thing. And I didn't have any problem with it. And then when they did the stents, obviously they're going through the arteries. It's the dye in the veins. Been in since Monday, says Tony, after chest pains. Oh, you're going to be needing some stents, I suspect. I think you got here on a spaceship, says Steve. And as you got out, you fell on a gramophone needle. and I've not stopped talking since. Best show on the air. Now will you get me a new phone? No chance. No chance. I don't even get myself new phones. I used to keep up to date with phones, but I don't bother anymore, actually. Could you please wake up the sleepyhead? Still sleeping, says Monica. There is a limit to how long I can wait on the charger, so remind them. Time to get your cab. Thank you. And another one here. Phil in Crosby. They're always far away, aren't they? Dumb, and then you get up there. He says, I don't know who you are. Of course you do. You're writing to me. Otherwise you're really stupid. But I've tuned in, heard your comment about there are no other life forms. I never said that. Where did you hear that said? I've never said there were no other life forms. There's no life anywhere else. There's no little green men. There's no spaceships, unless you're completely mad or you're drinking. He says, do not ignore scientific evidence. Go away. Go away. You'll be doing all your crop circles next, won't you? Done by students. Oh, no, it's spacecraft. Spacecraft. Yeah. Here come the little green men for you, Phil. You're mad as a toothbrush, you are, mate. There's nothing out there. Might be a water with a puddle or something like that. And that's it. Alien spiders? The scientific evidence. What scientific evidence? There's no scientific evidence of anything at all. Mad as a trooper, aren't you? Phil, is he in Crosby? What's Crosby famous for? Or perhaps it's his surname. Might be his surname, actually. I don't know. There is a place called Crosby, isn't there? Isn't it sort of some mining town? Where is it? Merseyside. You have to put an exclamation mark after Crosby so we know what it is, okay? I didn't know about Courtney Act. Steve, says Phil, so I just had a look on YouTube. She's the Australian one, yeah. That was the one that Anne Widdecombe didn't like at all. You know what Anne Widdecombe's like? She's a bit funny. Anybody who's prettier than her, whew, dear me. I couldn't really tell if it was drag, but yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I'll tell you what we bumped into the other day. We were going out the front door and we let a bloke in. It was Joe Pasquale. 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning. Joe Pasquale was here. 84850. Beth says seahorses are not hermaphrodite. They're both male and female, aren't they? They're both male and female. They have they're intersex. There are female and male seahorses. I don't think there are. I think that's the same thing, isn't it? I'm pretty certain. Seahorses, or is it perhaps one gives birth and the father looks after them? Anyway, who cares? They're not going to sue us. We're not going to need to worry about seahorses anytime soon. I don't think the London Aquarium's going to be contacting us, so we don't need to worry. Keep up the time checks, says Rachel. And I need them as I slept through the alarm last night. I don't like giving time checks. Well, I've got to do now because we're going to finish in a few minutes. So I'm all over the shop, she says, but shout out to the Facebook Spikers group, as I forget to mention them. And well done to Scott and the team. Yeah, they were very, very good. Very, very good. The papers today, they're all talking about the "you're fired," but with calls for a police probe as he swears on his children's life that it was nothing to do with him. This is the former Defence Secretary, Gavin Williamson. Slightly peculiar. Rochelle has found her lost family after 23 years. Can't have been looking very hard. They were out there. Princess Charming, Charlotte turns 4 today, and Mum Kate captures the sweetest of smiles. Just looks like any other 4-year-old. It's not the sweetest of smiles. It's no different to anybody else. Williamson sacked is the eye. The Guardian, May tells Defence Secretary, you leaked, you are fired. She thinks she's got proof. The Times, same one. Here he is, leaving the Palace of Westminster yesterday. And the Telegraph, it's the same picture. The same picture that the ousted Defence Secretary claims to have been the victim of a stitch-up as the Prime Minister scapegoats him. I'm sure you've got your own thoughts on that one. That's it for this morning. Tomorrow morning, there's no Darren, so you're going to get a long overnight programme, and it's going to be with Ian Dale and Theo Usherwood. It's 6 hours tomorrow, and then 4 o'clock we'll be here. We're going to pinch a bit of Theo, if he's in a fit state for us, and we'll bring you the results tomorrow, because that's generally the time that they come through. We're a bit excited by that. Before I go, time to let you know what's coming up on my free podcast today. On the Little Bit Extra, I'll give you all the details of that fake relationship, which apparently ended last week, but is now back on again. Yes, dreary Gemma and Arj think you really are stupid enough to fall for this rubbish. You'll hear about the ancient Janet Street porter's little rant about exercise to Davina McCall on the telly. Offer Janet an award in return for doing some running or something, and watch what happens. Plus, exciting news from Shea Beckham. Yes, either Dave or possibly Harper have excelled themselves and created their very own face cream. What a super talented family. But, you know, people have said to me, oh, isn't it exciting when it's a baby? I've seen babies before. They all look exactly the same. One end screams and the other end doesn't. and they're just children. They look, her baby will look no different to anybody else's, I promise you. But they go, oh, it's so exciting, and it's this and that, and I'm sort of going, is it? It's just a baby. Women have babies every day, and nobody ever thinks about it. The Russian envoy ordered home after it was revealed his past meant that he was a Soviet spy. Very exciting. Katie Price apparently is terrified of losing her ears. I would have thought her sanity would have been the first thing to worry about, but no, it's her ears. Why? Because she's had a facelift, a bum lift, and something else, all in the same day, in Turkey. And she came back and she was given strict instructions. And the instruction was, do not have a shower because all the stitches are behind her ears. That's where they do it. They stretch your skin back. I mean, to be honest with you, there's not much left to stretch in her place now. She's looking more like the Bride of Wildenstein. And all a bit disappointing. And so she had a shower. Why? Because she was going out with her poor mother. This poor mother's been dragged through the world backwards, hasn't she? And it became infected. So apparently it was leaking onto the pillow, so we were told. Well, more fool her. Who cares? You want to go in for this cut price surgery, then you have to sort of suffer the consequences. They did give the advice. And so she was phoning people and going, oh, I need painkillers, I need this and that. And I'm thinking, you've just completely ruined yourself. The rich list, Queen, wealthier than the Queen. But that would be right. The Queen's not rich. She doesn't own all these houses. She's not going to die and they're going to sort of split Buckingham Palace up into bedsits. They're not going to do anything like that. It's owned by the nation, so I think they've only got a couple of houses themselves. So she wouldn't be rich. Why would she be rich? She's got the civil list, and they pay their bills out of it. Not like Charles. I mean, Charles must be way down the list of rich people. I'm not saying they haven't got any money, but to be brutally honest with you, of course Queen, who worth 400 million, would be worth more than Her Majesty. But do you think she sits there going, Philip, let's have a look. You've been spending a bit, haven't you? They don't do things like that. Everything's catered. I mean, she doesn't have to push a trolley round Waitrose. Can you imagine? I've got people coming for dinner, 300, and we need some things. And no, people do that for you. You get to a certain age, and if you're in the royal family, it's all done for you. Even if you're Harry. You ever seen Harry shopping? Nope. Ever seen Will shopping? Nope. Ever seen Meghan Nope. Nobody. They don't do shopping. I think the nearest you got to it was Harry getting the Christmas tree last year, and that was about it. Kim Marsh, poor soul, honestly, she's leaving Coronation Street as if she was some sort of talented actress, and so she's quitting. So of course, then they do a story about how she's quit. And you go, she's just gone, I quit. There's nothing more to it than that. She's found love again and she's become a granny at 42. She's also got to try and launch a career because without the stability of Coronation Street or EastEnders or any of these other soaps where they're very much cosseted and protected, they have no idea, because nobody tells them, that when they get into the outside world, it's going to be a disaster. She'll have to do a couple of reality shows just to try and make ends meet. She might do pantomime, but to be honest with you, she's not a great actress. If you're going into pantomime, you've got to be experienced nowadays. That's why I hate it when you get local radio DJs going into the pantomime. The only reason they put them in there is to get the publicity. And so, the DJ from BBC Radio Shropshire will be going, oh, I'm doing pantomime this year. You can come and see me at the Broomstick Theatre. And they all go, oh, that'll be exciting. I'm always fascinated by things like that. I wouldn't do it. I was offered it years ago. I said, no, I'm a radio presenter. I don't do pantomime. Heavens above. The programme is enough of a pantomime. Lovely piece in You magazine. Celia Imrie. She is one of my favourite actresses. She really is. I think she's so versatile. We take audio texts and emails on the programme, 84850, steve@lbc.co.uk. Obviously, everybody's talking about dying. Oh, is that why you asked me about the dying thing? Whether you're doing things on how you want the end to be. Quick, I think. Yeah, the funeral. Oh, right. Well, I'm not going to be buried, that's a fact. Nobody ever visits graveyards. How many times? You see people putting flowers down, but you don't really see, anything. Nobody goes there. And also, families move away. So, in other words, you'll be there, Granny dies, so we all go there, and we bury her, then we have to dig her up again because she hadn't died, and then we put her back down again. And then, has anybody ever been there? No. I think my father only went a few times. It was only if he was in the area because they lived hundreds of miles away. So I think cremation is better. It's all, also, we have a graveyard in Twickenham, but it's been deconsecrated, and it's a children's playground. So what they do is they put all the gravestones around the walls, and they dig up people, and they move them somewhere, and then they put in a swing and a slide. And that's it. So because somebody stood there and gone, okay, deconsecrated, that means it's not a graveyard anymore. That means magically it's a case of, it's a children's playground. So that happens a lot. And Ron says, I thought Katie Price was pretty much skint. Well, let's wait and see. As long as she's coughing up the 12 grand a month, which she's done a deal with the taxman as he's reduced her bill. But to be honest with you, the amount of money she seems to be wasting. I don't think she paid for the cosmetic surgery. I think that was a little bit of a deal done. It was cut price, and in return for obviously getting it cheap or free or whatever it happened to be, she'll mention it, and so they get. But how tight is that? Did you read there's some actress, Gemma, somebody who's going out with Gurka Marquez or something? I don't know. Anyway, one of their dogs is not very well. They're asking people to fund surgery. Why don't you just dip into your bank account, dear? Why should we have to fund your dog's surgery? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Little Julie says, lovely afternoon tea at Zion House Garden Centre on Friday with Winnie. 14 quid for two, or £10 after you've used your discount voucher if you're a Y-Vale. Do you know it's up for sale? Did you know that Y-Vale was selling all their garden centres? There was a film crew filming in Zion House. Not sure what they were filming. Probably a costume drama, I should imagine. But actually, I went out Friday, and I was meeting some people at Little Italy, Tony Polledri's place, and we loved going there. And it was really odd because I had quite a busy day Friday, quite a busy day. And so I went to see a lovely group of people, lovely group of people. And then Tony Polledri said to me, he said, I think it was his sister-in-law, is a big Steve Allen fan, and she was in the restaurant as well with some friends. So I went over. Turns out they were all Steve Allen fans, which was lovely. So we had a little chat there, and just as I got up to go back to the first group of people, the blokes on the next table were going, we also listen as well. So the amount of people in Little Italy on Friday who were listeners to the programme was quite phenomenal. And we had a nice chat, and it was lovely. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely. But I didn't get home till quite late that day, quite late. Ended up having cocktails and all sorts of bits and pieces. And I had my favourite liver bacon and mashed potato. I love liver. It's some people hate it. I know it's one of those, it's a Marmite type of food. You either like it or you don't. But because I grew up on it, it doesn't pose any problem. But if you say to somebody, would you like liver? They go, no. Liver I don't know where it comes from. It comes from the supermarket. It comes in a plastic polystyrene box with a bit of cling film over it. I don't know what animal it comes from. Does it come from a cow or something, or a bull? I don't know. Should we find out where liver comes from? No, it's not. It might be awful. It might come from marmosets or something. I don't want to think about it. But I love it. Every time I see it on the menu, I have liver. Because my mother used to cook liver, and she used to it was delicious. Nobody did as good a liver. It was pretty close at Joe Allen's the other day. I wanted to mention on Friday that a man very much instrumental in the success of Joe Allen's, Richard Polo, died the other day. He'd been ill for a little while. And I love going in there because I've been going there for such a long time. I know you find people, they say, so-and-so's been eating here for 500 years. And I think I must have done nigh on 40 years at Joe Allen's. 40 years going there. It's moved, of course. And it's within 150 yards of where it was, if not less. But it's always good fun. It also depends on what the company is, and if it's company, then you don't really worry. So liver, eat by hand, domestic pig, ox, lamb, calf, chicken, goose, and cod liver. Cod livers. Oh, as in cod liver oil. Pig's liver. I don't know where it comes from, actually. It doesn't say. It just says liver. It just says liver on it. But they say some fish livers I wouldn't want fish livers. I really wouldn't want that. As far as I'm concerned, I think probably, if it can come from calf, chicken, goose, I'm not sure about goose livers, that sounds like foie gras, doesn't it? Where they enlarge, I wouldn't do that. Somebody would have to tell me. I think I'm domesticated pig. I suspect. I don't think I'm going to be anything else. But yeah, so sort of ox livers, could be ox livers. I don't know. They all look the same to me. Not the animals, the actual thing. Well, No, it's not. It's not cow. It doesn't come from cow. Domestic pig, ox, lamb, calf, chicken, goose, and cod livers. And that's it. Do you think Phil Vickery will know? He'll know something like that. He'll probably say to me, most of it comes from domesticated pigs. But I remember seeing, because my uncle used to have a butcher's shop, and they used to have lots of liver in the front window, and then my mother used to do it. She'd sort of, put it in next to the cooker, and she'd heat up the frying pan, and then she'd dip it in flour, and then fry it. It was lovely. It's lovely. You can't beat it, actually. And afterwards, I felt quite invigorated. That's probably due to the Prosecco, and then copious amounts of cocktails. Which are quite nice, actually. I like there's never enough booze in a cocktail, is there? I think they get away with very little booze. They just sort of say, would you like an umbrella? And a little monkey hanging over the side of the glass. Not really, no. But that was quite nice as well. Your all-time favourite advert, this is the one for local BBC radio today, is what's your favourite advert? And apparently it's Hovis. And that's that kid pushing the bicycle up that famous place in Dorset, wherever it is. Oh, I was just in it. And they push the bloody bicycle up. You wish it'd fall down on him. Also, we've got a new suspect in the Maddie disappearance. To be honest with you, I think we're kind of in the wind at the moment. I don't think it's anything at all. This is somebody who's a German paedophile who's in prison for murders. It's taken them 12 years to find this person. He's been in prison for quite some time. And I'm thinking to myself, are they just clutching at straws now? Are they just because they want to secure the funding? Why can't the McCanns pay for it? Must be loads of other children who've gone missing who haven't had the luxury of 12 million quid thrown. So, because they want more... how much longer does it go on for? I don't know. Till Cressida Dick leaves, I suppose. Also, 6 more to quit Corrie. They've had quite a number of people quitting Coronation Street. And they all think, oh, it's great, I've been getting publicity in Now magazine and something like that, and Closer magazine and all these other magazines. And you think, yeah, the reason you've got those is because the PR machine at Corrie and the PR machine at EastEnders is very much geared to getting publicity for people on the programme. The moment you leave it, you've got to pay for it. You'll need a publicist, and you'll suddenly realise how expensive publicists are. You don't get that for free anymore, so they've got to start grabbing that last little bit of publicity. But with 6 of them on the market, there's a limit to how many wicked queens you can have in pantomime, isn't there? Short morning, everybody. Bank holiday Sunday. Whoopie-doo! I know what you're thinking. You're going, it's not really the best weather we've ever had, is it? No, it's not. But it doesn't matter. You can still do loads of things. You can sort of get out there and get the tube or the train or a bus and just go somewhere. I don't know what I'm doing today, actually. At some point, I'm going to end up at a fun fair. I like a fun fair. The closest fun fair is Richmond to me. It's been there for years. Traylins are a family fun fair. And what happens is on all fun fairs, because I'm quite an expert on fun fairs, as you can well imagine. I like anything that's a bit silly like that, like circuses. But on fun fairs, the big main rides are owned by the person who owns the site. They own the right to put on a fun fair on the site. So you'll have, the dive bombers, or you'll have the waltzer, or you'll have the dodgems, and that'll be owned by the Traylins in this particular case. And then all the little things around the outside are all rented out. So they have the site, and if you sold toffee apples or something, Nick, which I'm sure you probably could do, then you would go along and say, I would like to sell my toffee apples at your fun fair, and they'll say, okay, and they'll tell you how much it is. Then you sort of bring your little caravan on site, and you do some cooking, and then Matt turns up and you do some more cooking, and then you dip your toffee apples, and then you get out and you sell your toffee apples. And then everybody goes, oh, and they're nice, aren't they? I've also just lost 3 fillings. You take out fillings with a toffee apple because they're nice. I tried making one years and years ago. I bought in a supermarket toffee apple mix, and it was a powder, and you mixed it up. Mine just came out looking grey. I wanted the clear toffee. I don't know what they call it. There must be a name for it. But there's something about it. But all the fun fairs will be operating. And it's typical. Always this Maybank holiday. It's always wet and miserable. I don't know why. It just seems to follow a pattern. You can get away with it at Easter, when it's quite nice. But the moment you get to the Maybank holiday, down came the rain. Down came the rain, and it's miserable, and it's cold. But listen, it's free entertainment. You can go and stand and watch people sitting on rides getting drenched. It's great fun, as far as I'm concerned. So I shall definitely be doing that later on. Little Julie says, I'm the one who doesn't like liver. It's funny, isn't it? Steve, calves or lambs? Yeah, there's something... it's supposed to be very good. It's got iron in it or something. Whatever it is, I quite like it. I quite like liver. but only because I had it as a child. If I'd probably discovered it later in life, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. I never used to like mushrooms. No, funny. As a child, they said, "Ooh, no, I don't want mushrooms." You know, now all of a sudden I can't get enough of mushrooms. I'm just disappointed. There's no flavour. And you buy a mushroom that's sort of like so big, and then by the time it's been cooked, it's so big, it's like kind of vanishes. They just go all small. And you think to yourself, that's not right, is it? That's not right. It should remain the same size, whether it's hot or whether it's cold. So, and I quite like filled mushrooms, but I've never done those because that involves baking in the oven, and I'm not turning the oven on to bake a bloody mushroom. Goodness sake, that'd be ridiculous. I nearly had a heart attack actually this morning. Not really, but I heard Nick Abbott saying, and Steve Allen will set you straight at 4, and I thought, 4? I'm not starting at 4 this morning. I had to quickly consult the diary. Had a little check and it said, no, definitely 5. I'm thinking, they're not expecting me to start at 4, are they? Not on a Sunday. Not on a Sunday. And it turned out he'd actually got it wrong. But there again. He's bought another car, hasn't he, I believe? I think he's driving now some super-duper deluxe thing. Cost an arm and a leg. You know, all this rubbish about I'm driving a 30-year-old car. It really is. It's a load of old hooey, I promise you. I like liver and bacon in the oven. Okay, lovely. Bit cramped, I should imagine, for eating it. But I've been very naughty, says Jacqueline. I've been reading a book about Paddy Doherty. Lost count of time. The bonus is, I'm not listening to you. Right, you're barred. Okay, we solved that problem. An outrageous thing. So you're reading a book about Paddy Doherty, you know, and then all of a sudden you say, I'm sorry, I'm not listening to the programme. I do realise the fact, I bump into a lot of people and they say that they are podcasting, and believe you me, I'm very grateful for the podcasting. Very grateful. We get really nice numbers on the podcasting, so thank you for that one. All you have to do, seeing as how Nick Abbott was trying to sell his podcast earlier on today, what did he say? There's a line that goes with it. Is it sort of Nick Abbott's ask for it by name or something? What's his catchphrase? He's got a catchphrase, hasn't he? Which he always says, you know, Nick Abbott. Apparently there's lots of laughs in it, or so. I can't remember. When did one came out the other? I thought I'm bad enough competing with the O'Brien woman without having to worry about, you know, what Nick Abbott is doing on his programme. How about an eco-burial? They've just done one for Luke Perry, haven't they? He's been buried in a mushroom suit. That'll be useful, won't it? A mushroom suit. What the God's name is a mushroom suit? I've never heard of one before. I've seen people buried in baskets. They do these woodland funerals, but I've seen people nearly falling out of them because the basket is not rigid. It's a woven wicker basket, and it moves. And they do some of them down our way, and they go, oh, it's a wicker basket, and they look quite nice. But then you see them moving, and you think, oh, I don't know. If I was inside, I'd be going, watch it. Don't want to be tipped up on end, do you, or the bottom to fall out of it. There must be a man somewhere making wicker baskets for funerals. Must be quite a lucrative thing. What did you used to do before? I used to do baskets so that Mrs. Tiggywinkle could go to market. Now I make coffins. 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. So the eco-burial, I'm not too sure about. I like the idea. In principle, it's good. Principle, it's actually good, but I'm not really too sure. I don't want a burial. Nobody's going to come and visit, are they? They're not going to sit there and say, do you know, I used to write to you, Steve, for ages, and it's not going to happen. So I decided a long time ago, and I've told all my friends as well, it's a cremation. And I don't want to be put in a rocket, and I don't want to be put and made into a diamond or put into an egg timer. I don't want anything like that at all. Just fairly straightforward, scatter me. And I don't care where you scatter. I'm not particularly bothered about it. I did think, actually, that I would want to be done on Richmond Bridge, but I'm led to believe that you have to ask permission to scatter the ashes. Or I could do the funeral boat in Twickenham. We have a funeral boat which takes people round to the back of Eel Pie Island, and then people scatter ashes. But I'm not sure I fancy that either. Oh, there we go. Look, that's quite nice, isn't it? Look, a chrome willow round-ended coffin. You see, this is very interesting. That here is a company who is prepared to sell you a coffin. 9 out of 10 times, they will not sell you a coffin. The thing is with this £520 coffin, by the time it's been to the funeral home, that'll turn into a £1,500 coffin. That's how it works. On a normal coffin, because I used to work for a shop and they had a funeral department, they would have all the coffins in, everything from sort of 5'2" to 7 feet you need to go up to now. Chewbacca, who died, he was 7'3", Peter Mayhew. And so these coffins, I'm really surprised to see a price on them. So you can get one for 520. I wonder how long it takes to make a coffin like that. I mean, they must be quite complicated. They're 100% natural and biodegradable, very strong and tested to bear heavy loads. That's called a body. They can't obviously spell the word body, so they put down, it bears heavy load. So in other words, if you're a fatty, they will have a basket for you. So it's quite nice. All prices include natural coffin liners and delivery within mainland UK. That'd be lovely, isn't it? You could give one to your friends. I've just bought you something for you. What you bought? Bought you your own coffin. There was one bloke, he had his in his house, and he would lie in it every so often to get used to it. Like it's going to make any difference. But it's good. It's actually quick delivery. If you order before noon, Monday to Friday, you'll have it within 48 hours. That's lovely. They say, please note, the coffin you may receive will not match the colour exactly of the coffin on the screen, because they are natural materials, therefore tone may vary. Who's going to complain about colour of the coffin? Not you, I shouldn't think. They look very nice. They really do very nice, but I don't want to be in a basket. Thank you very much indeed. I definitely don't. So, the Eco Burial, it's very sweet, but not for me. Not for me. But I'm just amazed that you can buy them. They did a survey ages ago in some magazine trying to buy coffins from the manufacturers, and they weren't very keen to sell to people who weren't funeral directors, because the markup is so horrendous on them. They have to, by the time, especially in a normal coffin, God, what a subject on a Sunday morning. In a normal coffin, they've got to put sawdust in the bottom, make it comfy, and then they've got to staple the lining, the silk lining, and then there'll be a little cushion, and just to make you cut. The Americans go crackers for it, absolutely crackers. You can turn into a £20,000 coffin in a very short space of time. So, it's good, but I wouldn't worry about it. It's not going to happen for ages. Certainly not on my programme. Steve, chopped liver sandwich on rye with cucumber, Jewish East End style, best made by my nan, says H. Don't talk to me about food this morning. And James says, when it's time, I'm going to be interred in the LBC vault. I'm going to be cremated. There is no LBC vault. You'll have to fight through. The people who'll be in there by the time I go, God, it'll be absolutely chock-a-block. And Dale, he was cremated. Quite quickly. Pig and ox liver, very tough if you're having it with bacon and mashed potatoes, usually carbs or lambs. Oh, right. They'll soon change Coronation to Abdication Street. I don't know why they're saying it was something to do, they said, with a producer who left, and then a new producer came in and they wanted to work them. I thought, yeah, and opposed to what? It makes me laugh. You get people who go into something, they get very well paid, might not be as well as you probably think they are, considering they sell it around the world. And you think to yourself, why would you ever moan about that? But they moan about it very quickly. Oh, I'm having to work really hard. And I've seen some of these bimbos from reality shows like the Love Island and things like that, and they're making a fortune. Oh, no, they're not. I promise you, they don't get paid very much at all, and unless they can manage to flog themselves in their bra and knickers, or they can manage to have an affair with a footballer, probably a lot easier than you imagine. More and more gay footballers now, have you noticed? More and more gay footballers. There isn't, I'm just making it up. It makes it more entertaining. A lot of footballers going, how does he know? How does he know? People tell me. Oh, I can name you probably half a dozen gay footballers, but they don't come out, do they? So they have to sort of pretend, They're always the last one out the changing room, Too busy sort of getting themselves looking pretty. I saw a footballer the other day. He was in the paper, because he'd parked his car in a disabled space. Now that, to me, is tantamount to your car should be crushed immediately. Fancy parking. Bit of news, isn't it? Bit of news? Oh, bit of news. Oh, right. I suppose we have to do it. Pretty welcome to Sunday. I'd stay in bed. To be honest with you, it's not worth the hassle, is it? You're going to get up. Steve, with liver, nobody knows what they're eating. I've never asked, actually. Perhaps I should ask in future. I've never thought about it. Kevin, not the milkman, says, I love liver just like you, but it's got to be lamb's liver only. You try pig's liver, I don't think you'd like it at all. Well, I don't eat lamb. Mind you, to be honest with you, it could be, I wouldn't know, would I? I wouldn't know. But I'm not particularly bothered. Ted says, if you have ox liver, chicken liver and lamb's liver, I love lamb's liver with bacon. I think I'm probably eating lamb's liver, but I'm strangely enough, I'm not very good with lamb at all. Rob says, Matthew was talking about an actor who's buried in an eco-mushroom costume. Yes, that would be Luke Perry, who died, from Beverly Hills 90210. That was the one who wasn't known by Nick Abbott. He didn't have the faintest idea who Luke Perry was, but why would he? When you listen to Nick Abbott, you don't think, I bet he knows a lot about Beverly Hills 90210. I shouldn't imagine he even knows that, Minnie Caldwell's died in Coronation Street, or Ina Sharples. South Kensington for the museums, Hyde Park and Kensington Gardens just up the road. Lovely. What's that to do with? Why would that be interesting? Russ the Postie says, Steve, because of the disastrous results in the local elections, will the bad losers ask for a rerun like they did in Brexit? Do you know, isn't it funny? What are they running on the news now? They're actually talking about, they want to get together the Conservatives and the Labour to talk about Brexit. I'm sorry, I heard that months ago. You mean they haven't actually got round to talking at the moment? What an incompetent bunch of nincompoops they really are. And then some minister was saying the reason that Theresa May's not very good is because she's diabetic. You might as well have said because she's not 10 foot tall. Absolutely ridiculous. She's diabetic. What's that got to do with anything? But if they don't get round the table, I mean, most of them are going to be dead by the time we get round to that, aren't they? I mean, Corbyn looks a bit dodgy at the moment, and Theresa May looking very worried. Why can't they just sit down and talk? I mean, do they have such busy diaries? I mean, quite clearly, as Theresa May doesn't seem to have much support anywhere in the country at the moment, why doesn't she just invite him round for tea? They can go to the Goring. They can go and have a nice cup of tea there and a little sandwich and sit down and go, right, where are we going to go with this? But because the British public are just losing interest. Seriously losing interest. Nobody gives us stuff anymore. It's just a case of, well, will we be having another referendum? Are we going to be going to, we'll be going to the country to find somebody to lead the Conservative Party. Who is going to lead the Conservative Party? I can't think of anybody who's capable of leading. I mean, the other day, did you see it before it was deleted? Boris Johnson starts tweeting about voting in the election. He lives in London. We weren't voting in the election. And then obviously somebody said, I don't think actually you were. They went, oh, was I not? So he had to delete it. Honestly, absolute idiots. Absolute idiots. Liver with tripe is to die for? I think not. Tripe, that's that white stuff. That's the inside lining of somebody's stomach, isn't it? I think. Oh, no, thank you very much indeed. Sorry, here we go. Would you like...
Morning.
Good morning. Would you like a wafer? Do you like wafers?
Yeah.
Now? What do you mean now? As opposed to what? Christmas? Should we do Christmas? I bought wafers in.
Oh, I do like a wafer.
Oh, you like these ones? I bought a box.
Oh, look at those. Can we take them to the newsroom?
No, you can't. Not the no, take a few. Oh, just take as many as you want then. Why don't you? You haven't seen those before. They're luxury wafers. You haven't seen those.
We don't have those in Kent.
You were very rude, Josh, on your tweet the other day. About the mug with the rude word on it. It's in the kitchen. I've just seen it. Very rude. You have to tell them when they're young. They don't know. It had the F word on the mug. And the mug's in the... I've just seen it in the kitchen. I thought, where have I seen that before? And I thought, that's on Job. That's the newsreader. Not this morning, the news... Well, not for us, anyway, because we have Philip. Steve, fancy Nick trying to start you at 4 on a Sunday. They work you enough as it is. Happy May Day for tomorrow. Happy May Day. Whatever that means. What do you mean happy... We're all going to be frozen out. There's going to be hailstones and everything. We'll be knee-deep in snow by tomorrow, I should imagine. Is it not May Day? Well, it's May Day then. May Day bank holiday. Oh, is it? What happens on that? Morris dancing. International Workers' Day. What, in this country? Hilarious. Corbyn's Day, yes, Corbyn's Day off. Are they still super glued to his fence? Bit difficult to find out, isn't it, really? Did he come out and bring them tea? But unfortunately, because they couldn't hold the cup. Because they're super glued to the fence. Seriously, this country's mad as broomsticks, isn't it? And then the other day, they were talking about Shamima Begum. If she goes to Bangladesh, they're going to hang her, because she's a terrorist. She won't be wanting to go there then, will she? Given the choice. Where do you think, Shamima? Where would you like to go today? I'd quite like to go to Bangladesh. They're going to hang you, because you're a terrorist, OK? OK, I'll stay in Syria. I'll stay in the refugee camp. As long as it doesn't come back here, I don't really care. I think people forget, don't they? People forget. There's this bloke. His name's Dale Cregan, and he's a cop killer. He's a one-eyed buffoon. He's in prison for a long, long time. But anyway, apparently the bosses have given him his own telephone. What for? They smuggle them in, left, right. What do you have to give him? And here we go, ceremony handy over. Apparently, former guard Neil Samworth, whoever he is, obviously the one who sold the story, he says, handing the cushy perk to the one-eyed fiend who used a phone to lure 2 female officers to their deaths was a dangerous game. He's not going anywhere. He just sit there like the buffoon that he is. Ridiculous, honestly. I mean, why would... Can't they just go and take it off him? They say he'll be calling all his mates all day long. He hasn't got any mates. They're all dead. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Mind you, Angela Rippon, there was a story that came up today. I couldn't believe it. Angela Rippon says a senior BBC journalist appeared to flash at her on live television. Angela was in a room on her own reading the 9 o'clock news to 10 million people. Why that's important, I've got no idea, but it fills up the word thing. When the colleague entered and mimicked taking his willy out. I mean, honestly, I mean, seriously, what, do you think she's not seen one before? I don't quite understand it. Anyway, it turned out it wasn't. It was his shirt that poked through his trousers zip. Angela told a programme called The Reunion. I got to the end of the read, and we went to a film, and I looked across, and what he'd actually done was unzipped his flies and taken out the bottom of his shirt. This is a story? This is a story? Hello? I was like that all the time when I was like 9 and 10. You know, you're constantly doing that. You know, you sort of undo your zip and pull your shirt out. Ha, 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 ha. Admittedly, I was on the bus at the time, so it obviously wasn't as funny as we thought it could have been. She said, I never reported it. And she said, and it would have gone round the newsroom in no time that Ripon can't take a joke. Oh, she takes a joke. Oh, she takes a joke. She really does. Who was it who wanted to go? Oh, can you get me a picture up? This is a place. I need to see what this looks like. Dunstable's Grove Theatre. Dunstable's Grove Theatre. And once we got the picture up, I'll tell you all about it. Because I've never heard... I mean, I've heard of Dunstable. It's in Bedfordshire. There's something there. And Gary says they buried Luke Perry in a mushroom suit because he was a fun guy. Oh, it's quite big, isn't it? Oh, it's quite big. Oh, it's a lot bigger, this Grove Theatre. It's a lovely theatre. Why have I not heard of this place before? Looks very nice, doesn't it? Ah, it's very posh. How many seats? How many seats has it got? That's what I'd like to know. That looks to me like it could be a 1,200-seater, I suspect. Oh, maybe not. I've just realised there's only a little... Oh, yeah, no. How many seats have they got if we were booking it? Performance hire, I think. Let's find out. Performance hire. There we go. Oh, it's got 1,000. 462 seated, 538 standing. Oh, that's interesting. So it's got 780 seats with both the stalls and circle level. So that's actually not bad size. The reason I mention it is because AJ Pritchard is doing pantomime. He's never done pantomime this year. He's playing Peter Pan. So he's dressed up in an outfit that makes it look as though he's covered in leaves. So he's coming off doing... He'll do the Strictly tour, then he finishes that, then straight into pantomime. And he's at Dunstable's Grove Theatre this Christmas. And he says, I'm going straight from there from finishing, can't wait. Somebody says his pantomime sales are breaking all box office records. The demand has been through the roof. Well, you don't want that, do you? Otherwise the rain will come in. You just want sort of people to go and buy a ticket. Go and see pantomime. I love it. I love pantomime. Also, Rav Wilding joins a host of celebrities for this new Monty tomorrow night. This is where a load of people you've not really heard of take their clothes off, and it allegedly raises lots of money. Although sadly it didn't the last time it was on. Rav says his father was diagnosed with a terminal form of cancer, so apparently that spurred him to taking his clothes off. Well, I promise you, when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't get the overwhelming urge to take my clothes off. But it's on ITV tomorrow at 9, and there's a few sort of deadbeats, a couple of people from reality shows. The only one we're interested in is Joe Pasquale. Very brave. Very brave. But he's been fully waxed, so that's okay, isn't it? What we have to have done with the producer here every week. Before we do the programme, we have to dip him. Seriously, it's like a sheep dip outside. You know, you see the sheep going through and they push them under the water and then the sheep go, what the hell is that? And then they come out the other side. That's what we have to do with him. He had to do that before he went round to Matt's house. Nothing worse, is there really? You start doing sort of stir-fry, and he's very good at doing the flipping back with the frying pan and the wok. Very impressed I was. I thought you've obviously been watching Phil Vickery on the television. I like that. He does cook. You do cook, don't you? You sort of throw things. That was a... Did he make you do a number of takes? Oh, what a swizz. Did he do anything in the kitchen? Does he... A bit of chopping, or does he just supervise? Oh, right. What? I didn't... To be honest with you, I saw the picture, but I didn't know what you were actually cooking. It could have been bean sprouts, as far as I was concerned. What was it? Was it something... Oh, Gino D'Acampo. Oh, tagliatelle bolognese. That's quite a cool thing to do, isn't it, I suppose? I was going to have... Do you know, I couldn't remember whether I'd eaten yesterday. I got to sort of 5:30, and I remember thinking, have I eaten? You know, I'm getting worse. And I thought, I don't think I've eaten. I had a couple of crusty rolls with some chicken in, but then I thought, oh, perhaps that's filled me up enough. So I didn't have anything to eat yesterday, really. Not sort of properly. I should have done. I bought a present for a friend of mine. We had this sort of drunken session kind of thing. When I wasn't that drunk, I was just drinking a few cocktails, and he mentioned something. And so I thought, I've ordered it on Amazon and it's being delivered today. So he was going back on the train up to Manchester, poor soul, but somebody's got to live there. And I said, oh, it's going to be Super Sunday this week. And he said, why? I said, you wait and see. And he went, oh, people love a surprise. I'm not going to tell you because he could be listening to the programme. And then I mentioned we had a very good story about Marvin Humes the other day. And I can't tell you what the story is. So I then got inundated with people going, Steve, what is the story about Marvin Humes? And I said, I can't tell you. I'm bound to secrecy over it, but I might tell you. No, I can't tell you this morning. A bit of a tease line there. And then another friend of mine, Ant, wrote to me and said, everybody wants to know what the Marvin Humes story is. And if I told you, you'd be as wise as me. I'll just tell you, it didn't come from me. It came from somebody else. And it's actually quite funny. And if he'd had a camera, it would have been even funnier. I wonder what it is. You'll have to guess. Oh, one of the Dreary for Hears sisters. I mean, seriously, one of them apparently had racked up a fortune of 4.2 million. Got no idea how she's managed that. Flogging a few tatty old clothes. Then they get paid for the Mummy Diaries. They're most peculiar sisters, they really are. And so they've got a 2-year deal to keep filming this series. And one of them has landed a big money deal to work with a clothing brand. Because that's all they can do now. If you're in Towie, you can't do it. No, most of them, it's like Victoria Beckham describing herself as a designer. I don't think she could colour anything in. I really don't. Dave has been out, pilloried by everybody. He's back to the sandals and the red socks again. He just looks odd. There's something the matter with him. He's not the full ticket. And then they sent a reporter out the other day to try on Victoria Beckham clothes. Unfortunately, unless you weigh about 3 ounces, they're not for you. It's only for people who look like Victoria Beckham, which, thank the Lord, there aren't too many of. And that's why the clothing firm not doing as well as it could be. Sunday, don't bother getting out of bed. You don't need to stand up. It is just Steve Allen on the radio. And another one here that says, a lot of people talk about Luke Perry being buried in this mushroom suit, which I'd never even heard of before, but it sounds quite... So does that mean that mushrooms grow on him? If it's a mushroom suit, is that the way? I don't know. Apparently, they used to do wicker work as occupational therapy, says Elaine, in hospitals. Maybe it could be brought back to weave your own coffin. You're going to guess halfway through, aren't you, really, I suppose? 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. Oh, the spoof series, the Keith and Paddy picture show, has been cancelled, which is good news, isn't it? Plans for a third run this summer have been scrapped by ITV, basically because it's just not interesting anymore. There was a primetime Saturday show with Keith Lemon, who doesn't rate on anything. Seriously, it's just embarrassing to watch. The ratings dwindled. Half of the 6 million viewers switched off by the end of Series 2, which is roughly the same as how it works on Celebrity Juice. Just awful. Billy says, when you die, your grave will be part of the Celebrity Death Tour, and your original house will get a blue plaque. Well, I'm not going to be buried, so it's definitely not going to be happening. I don't think so. Somebody says, I spent a very pleasant afternoon on the allotment. The sprouts are tightening nicely. It's not sprout season, is it? I can't find sprouts anywhere. You're growing sprouts? What, in summer? Dick, I've never heard of such a thing. Will you be visiting Hastings on Monday, says Yvonne, to look and listen to 50,000 bikes roaring through, posing and looking good? Good Lord. That's just God's waiting room, isn't it, Hastings? That's where you sit in a bus shelter, and there's a very good chance you'll be seeing somebody who'll be visiting the local undertakers within about half an hour. They just sort of sit there staring out to sea. I've been there a few times. I've worked there. I worked in Hastings, and it was very nice, very, very sort of quiet sort of place. 84850. Matthew says, I spoke to Matt Stadlen earlier about Madonna and mentioned you. What's your view on this ageism thing? What is the ageism thing? I don't know what the story is. Is it Madonna is saying that she's being... Oh, that's right. She's approaching 60, and that's why the music industry will not be playing her music. To be honest with you, I shouldn't imagine it really bothers her much. I should imagine she's very, very funny about things like that. I don't know. I mean, it's just the fact that Madonna's been around for such a long time. I mean, there is an age thing. People are very much, they go, 60. Well, I'm gone 60, and I don't feel old some days. Other days you feel very old. But if you're 60 in the music business, I mean, there's loads of people in their 70s in the music business. In their 70s, 60. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought she was older than 60. I had no idea. But she had a movie career. Did you see some of her movies? She wasn't very good, really. No, she never did Bugsy Malone. Dick Tracy. She did a couple of other things. She played a prisoner in something where she was supposed to be a bit of a tough nut and all the rest of it. She was in Bond, was she? Fencing, really? I didn't know that. To be honest with you, I was never a Madonna fan. I didn't really care, but I mean, I don't really go for this. At a certain age, they just sort of push you to one side. I try not to think about things like that at all. Iceman says, my parents were butchers, always had liver, difference between lamb's liver and ox liver, darker colour and cheaper, but still nice. Isn't it funny? And yet, I've had no end of people going, oh, disgusting. And would you not like to be carried away with your favourite circus, says Jenny in Chile Mitcham. Yes. I'd be anywhere, actually. I'm really not particularly fussed by it. It's not going to bother me, is it? It's not going to, I'm not going to sort of wake up and go, oh, Lord, they've cremated me. Alan from Clay Hall, he says, Nick Abbott that's right, Nick Abbott's habit. Ask for it by name. That's what I couldn't remember. Have you tried Jewish chicken soup? Hello, who do you think you're listening to? Have I tried Jewish chicken soup? I'm 65. Have I tried Jewish chicken soup? It's like saying, have you ever had sort of mozza meal on your fish from the seashell? I mean, good Lord above, honestly. And salt beef, where do you think I'm coming from? Of course I have. I've eaten everything. Everything. A lot of my friends are Jewish. Try and get away from Jewish penicillin, you can't. I love it, though. Bunny says, I love liver, but was trumped by horse's lung. Oh, no. I'm not sure about that one at all. You see, I just don't think horses should be eaten. I know we have done, and I probably am as guilty as the next person. I think I might have actually eaten horse, because there was that thing a short while ago. In France, it's actually quite normal to eat horse. Over here, we go, you don't really want to eat the thing, do you? Trying to get that in the oven, that'd be a nightmare. I tried hippopotamus once. I had to completely revamp the kitchen afterwards. It just took a lot of bako foil. A lot of bacon. And for a horse as well. But we wouldn't know the difference. If they gave you food and they said, eat that, what's it like? See, I'm always a bit sceptical. And you'd eat it and you go, do you like that? And you go, what is it? See, we want to know what it is because it's a psychological fear. And if somebody said to me, you've just eaten guinea pig, I'd be going, I'm sure about that. I know they do. I think Peru, they eat guinea pigs. They have them running around the kitchen, and then they just get them, bang them on the head, cover them in mud, put them in the oven, and then when you take the mud off, it takes all the hair off at the same time. If Colonel Sanders had discovered guinea pigs before chicken, the boxes would be a lot smaller. Much smaller. You could probably get them in your pocket. Not for me, though. I couldn't eat snake. Michael Palin ate snake once. And they went to a restaurant in China, somewhere, and they brought the snakes out to prove that they were... as opposed to what? They're not going to... They even have, cat restaurants in China. They eat cat. And it's just... they always say, the only thing you can't eat, that's actually got legs in China would be the table. The rest of it, you'd be eating everything at all. And they did take us to a food market once where there was everything from guinea pigs, terrapins, and you think, oh, no, and snakes. And then after they cut the snake's head off, it carried on moving. And I'm thinking, I couldn't eat that. And it came back, and they'd sort of fricasseed it, and they've done it sweet and sour snake, and I'm thinking, oh, no, I'm a little bit more conservative. As I say, listen, I've only got round to mushrooms in the past few years. No chance of eating anything odd. It's like, kangaroo. See, I could probably understand that, because I'd imagine, I don't know if it's a fatty meat, or if it's gamey. Right. See, I've never eaten pigeon. Or partridge or anything like that. And yet I'm sure if somebody served it up to me, I wouldn't really know about it. Not eaten pheasant. I haven't eaten pork for years. Is pheasant nice? All right. I haven't eaten pork for years and years. And yet I'll eat bacon, but I just sort of chop it up and put it into rice and things like that. A little bit of a cultural thing. Sometimes you add a bit of sauce on top of it to make it go Mediterranean. But that's about it. I don't do those sort of things. But and the other thing I wouldn't eat, pig's trotters. There's a restaurant in France where they serve pig's trotters. They go, and you get the meat between the toes. You are joking. Why would you want to eat that? I never even took to oxtail soup. I just feel sorry for the poor ox. There's certainly loads of things that I can't eat, which makes me feel very finicky, doesn't it? And yet I'll eat a steak. I'll eat spare ribs, except in a restaurant. The reason is, just suppose you get it down your shirt, which is highly likely in my state. So there's certain things I can't eat spaghetti bolognese. You get it all over the place. So if I do spaghetti bolognese, I cut the spaghetti up into little bits so I can eat it with a spoon, which is how you're supposed to eat it with a fork anyway, but it's easy if you just shovel it in your gob that way. And it always works for me. God, I'm so hungry. I could eat a cooked breakfast now. We had rugby in Twickenham yesterday. It was the Army and Navy, which means they're not so much interested in food as how much booze they can shove down their throats. And from about 8 o'clock in the morning, they start arriving in. And some of them were holding cases of booze and all the rest of it. Whereas the police stop them going into the stadium. If you're caught walking along the road with booze, they throw it in here. So they all think it was packed. It was packed. I'd had enough by about 12:30 of seeing people, whoa, we're going to the rugby, and then half of them never go because they're so gone that they actually can't. Rugby, yeah, the stadium up there, rugby. And then there's a story, which I'll get round to probably in the next part of the programme, where we go through the papers. And they've got 13,000 heroes on the streets. Can you explain to me why people... We have them here. We have them at the back of this building. We have them at the front of the building. Practically everywhere in London, and probably where you live as well. People with signs, homeless, blah, 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 thank you, God bless. Does that supposed to make you feel a bit better? That the Lord Almighty is looking down on them, because here's a former soldier begging for money. He says he's an Iraq veteran. He's got proof of service. Anything helps. God bless. And then, thanks, Veteran Affairs, you're swell. And I don't see these people. I see people who are under the influences of drugs and drink, mainly sleeping in doorways and stuff like that. These homeless vets here, why are they not doing something for them? I thought that helped for heroes. They've got so much money coming in, but there's not enough heroes that they need to spend the money on. Well, there quite clearly are. There's 13,000 of them on the streets. The youngest person they dealt with was 18 and the oldest 97. 4,000 veterans are in British jails, say the charity Care After Combat. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Why are they not sorting this out? But as I say, you can't even get the government round a table with the opposition to discuss Brexit, which really annoys me more than anything else. Soap actress Chelsea Disgusting Healy. Chelsea Healy, did you see her on one of those dating programmes? What a disgusting person. What a vile person she was. She's hoping to find a decent bloke. Darling, with your table manners and the language, I should imagine it's a very remote possibility. How embarrassing you were on the television. Really, really disgraceful. But there again, you're a bit too stupid to realise. That's why you're single, love. Got nothing to do with the way you look. It's your attitude. And the attitude stank. It's you, Kerry Katona, and a few other sad people. Bobby Cole Norris. He couldn't find anybody either. Morning, Bank Holiday Sunday. Bank Holiday Sunday, very excited. You might be having a barbecue today. My friend Rich just dropped in and said they're having a barbecue for about 30 people. I said, it's going to rain. And he said, yeah, we'll have a couple of gazebos up. So, the British are very stoic, aren't they? We're not going to be put off by a little bit of rain or hailstones. We're really not. Jamie Redknapp. Remember Jamie Redknapp? He's a football pundit now. It's terribly dreary. That he was married to Louise Redknapp, also equally dull. But he's taken a mega pay cut from his firm after the divorce in 2017 with huge corporation tax bill. So he's cut his ex-wife Louise out of the business. He's 45, she's 44, and she's been removed from the director's post that she held at JFR Enterprises for 16 years. Company's house documents show her appointment terminated, but they've still got a substantial loan from the company. According to the accounts, which state at the year end the directors owed the company $1.7 million. He had a corporation tax bill of $650,000. Woo! It's a bit heavy, isn't it? But cracks grew in the relationship, and then, she was linked to various other people. She says, I didn't want to continue running around after everybody else and occasionally promoting a yoghurt. Why, these people share every aspect of their life, don't they? I mean, it really is to the point of tedium. It's so boring. Who cares? Who cares? A group of 3 women multiplied into 15 on Britain's Got Talent the other day. And the viewers were very quick to try to debunk them. They did a series of magic reveals and dance routines using cage illusions. The girls from the Netherlands kept popping up, and then people saying, oh, we know what that was, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, there's far too many of them doing a magic act. We do like a magic act, but I noticed on YouTube there was somebody who was going through people's magic acts on Britain's Got Talent and telling, oh, it was done like this and done like that. What ghastly people. In America, they had a disgusting person called the Masked Magician. He was actually a magician. He was just a sad failure. And so he appeared masked, going, and where do you think the girl goes? The girl is here. He never spoke, actually, just as well, because we'd have sussed him out very quickly. But he's been exposed as the freak that he is. Ghastly. The seats are rock hard in the Grove Theatre, says Jan. Just saying. It's 2 doors away from BBC Three Counties. Oh, how lovely. BBC Local Radio. That's very sweet, isn't it? I like the idea. I don't mind rock hard seats. It means guaranteed that you're not going to fall asleep during the performance. Apparently tonight, oh dear, typical me, isn't it? Typical me. I'm on at 9 o'clock this evening with In Conversation, particularly good. And it clashes with the conclusion of Line of Duty. Well, there's me out on a limb straight away. Unless, of course, you're out driving, in which case it's fine. Mark says, I'm going to toss a coin. Well, thanks a bunch. Thanks. What, you can't even decide. You have to toss a coin to decide what you get. I mean, why don't you just record Line of Duty, or failing that, you can even podcast me. I'm quite happy to be podcasted. I'm not that precious. But fancy mentioning the fact that the conclusion of I've never seen Line of Duty. I don't know what it's about. I've no interest in it whatsoever. Just like Game of Thrones. I've never done Game of Thrones. I don't know anything that goes on Game of Thrones. I've interviewed, I think, a few people who've actually been in it, but that's it. Mike says, I've noticed a number of people saying that eating red meat is bad for diabetes and a vegetarian diet is the way to go. Don't know. I don't mind people being... I've got a producer, one of my producers for In Conversation. He's a sort of a flexible vegetarian. He eats meat every so often. Made him very ill the other week, so he said. And what exactly is a mushroom suit, says Grace? I don't know. No idea. You're asking the wrong person. Why would I know about it? Never even heard of it. It must be something. I think that only occurs in America. Unless somebody will be writing and going, oh, this is what a mushroom suit is, because I don't know. 84840, steve@lbc.co.uk. Steve, lovely this time of year. Complete daylight at 5:30 and no people around. Bliss, says Dave, in Ilkley. Scorchmore, charred, tat. Thank you. The world is a lovely place when you don't have to deal with the general public. Well, I don't know. I never complain about anything, as you know, which is lovely. Sandra in Chertsey says, have you got anything cheerful? No, nothing. It's all doom, gloom and despondency today. It really is. I mean, the sort of... I mean, apart from they're now flogging us the Madeleine McCann German paedophile in Maddie Probe. He's in prison. He happened to be out there in Praia de Luz. It's taken them 12 years. They're so incompetent, the police, in this thing. 12 years, and they didn't bother checking local paedophiles who might have been in prison. I mean, almost inept. Almost you might have been the same team who were trying to find out who the Yorkshire Ripper was. They interviewed him 3 times. 3 times, the police. They still didn't know. In the end, he had to say... Well, in fact, actually, there were 2 things. First of all, they'd interview, and then they let him go. Then they interviewed, then they let him go. And then they picked him up, and he said, oh, can I just go to the toilet? So the car stopped. He gets out, goes behind a building, as a wee, comes back, gets in the car, goes to the station. And one of the officers thought... I wonder what he got out for a wee for. They go back there and they find the hammer that he'd used to murder a lot of his victims. And it was only then that he went, you're asking whether I'm the Yorkshire Ripper. I am. And that was it. So incompetent with the police. And it seems the same with Madeleine McCann. 12 years, and now we're investigating a German paedophile who's in prison. I mean, did they not realise that some years ago? £12 million. My God, it's getting worse. Getting worse. England ace Kyle. I don't know who these people are. You give me a list of footballers, and I'm so out on a limb. This is somebody called Kyle Walker. Again, not a clue. Plays football, not a clue. But luckily, his girlfriend dumped him. He's left the £3.5 million mansion he shares with model Annie Kilner. Annie's lingerie model. Okay, for that read, get your bits out. And it turns out that his girlfriend, after a reality TV star, said she had a string of romps with the player. I mean, these people aren't married. He's quite entitled to go and sleep with who he wants to sleep with, but they make such a big deal about it now, don't they? Love Island star. They're not stars. You won't know any... These people could walk into a room, dressed in their day clothes, which probably involves something to do with an elasticated waist tracksuit, and you wouldn't know who they were. But then you see them in their underwear and you go, oh, I know who you are. You're off Love Island because you pose in your bra and knickers. There's more people posing in bra and knickers. I've got to capitalise on this one. And this one here is a proper flight of fancy, posing in her undies. Kendall Ray Knight, double-barrelled, chav, chav, chav. That's what it is. The more double-barrelled they are, the more chav they are. Kendall, 26 at least, was in the ITV show last summer where she was paired with Niall Aslam. No. Never heard of either of you, I'm afraid. It's so embarrassing, isn't it? Then she was dumped after 6 days, so it's a long-term relationship. If you've been on Love Island, anything after 24 hours is a long date. And so here's, luckily she's able to pose in her bra and pants again for you. So that's good news, isn't it? And I'm sure your career's going to go from strength to strength. Who are they thinking of bringing back to Coronation Street? I've always been a big fan of Curly. Yes, bring back Curly Watts, please. Kevin Kennedy. Definitely. That's what they need. The show's gone off the boil. It's gone off the boil a bit. It's, you need to bring back... it's not complicated, is it? Why don't they just ask the public? Because they all think they know what they're doing. Whereas the British public are very good. So that's why you've dumped Paddy McGuinness's show, because the public turned off. If you don't like it, you go click and you turn off and they go, whoa, where's the ratings gone? We thought that Keith Lemon was popular. Think again. However, we found the stupidest person in the world today, and his name is Saif Sheikh. He's 20. You won't know who he is, but you'll see his picture in all the papers today. He's the biggest numpty you've ever found. He drove from a court minutes after he was given a driving ban. He gets banned in the court. He's a bit thick. He doesn't know it. He got into his VW Golf GTI, because he's one of those sort of people. Got a GTI, mate, and GTI. Got a new motor? Yeah, GTI. And he was done. He admitted causing serious injury by dangerous driving. And then journalists saw him walk out the court, thicko boy. This is Saif Sheikh, 20. And the journalist went, well, he's just been banned. So they called the police. They've arrested him, taken him before Salford magistrates, and she admitted to driving without insurance. He's the dumbest person you've ever heard of. What a thicko. The judge went, you're going to prison for 12 weeks. He said, you were well aware you were disqualified. It's very difficult to imagine. These people don't care. He obviously thought we could carry on driving. 12 weeks in prison. That'll make some new friends, won't it? Some new friends. I mean, how do these people survive? He's apparently training to be an accountant or something like that. What a dimbo. What a dimbo. 84850, steve@lbc.co.uk. An excellent festive choral even song at Westminster Abbey. There was a rumour you were in attendance. You should have looked harder. Steve, has Hastings quietened down a bit? I heard recently there was a bit of fighting there. Hastings? There might have been a few wheelchairs at dawn and a few people waving sort of colostomy bags and stuff like that, but I mean, that doesn't go any further. That's Hastings, isn't it? You do get people who get very angry about things like that. Not me. Anish says, good morning from Kerala. India's Parsi, Persians migrated to India during 651 AD, leaving the dead body at a place called Towers of Silence, for vultures. Yes, I've heard about that. There's another place, isn't there, where it's very cold and they leave bodies outside to be eaten by whatever birds are sort of scavenging around. I don't know which is worse, actually, being left outside, freezing cold, or being burnt on a funeral pyre. I don't think it matters, does it? But they do it by the side of the Ganges, and lovely it looks. Really lovely. When you pop your clogs, Michael says, David Dale and I will put your urn under the Palladium stage alongside all the other showbiz greats. There's only three under there. And, Steve, am I a snob? Probably. I don't know. I can't comment on that. I don't know what a snob is, actually. Is that somebody who sort of looks down their nose at you? Is it, oh, right, that's a snob. There you go. I always feel ill when I see and hear any of Katie Price's men. They have a way of talking as if they can't read. Yeah, I don't know. I think she goes for that type, doesn't she? She's a bit peculiar. I mean, she really is a bit peculiar. I don't want to be rude about her, but she's quite clearly mad as a toothbrush. She's had all this cosmetic surgery. She thinks it's improved her, but she looks more like the Bride of Wildenstein. She should never have started. But somebody said to me the other day, they said, if you got the opportunity of talking to her, would you would you take advantage of it? I thought you could probably do an hour, couldn't you, with her, provided she'd answer all the questions. Generally speaking, though, the first thing she says is the press get it all wrong and all that kind of stuff. So you have to suffer with that. She doesn't know where she is half the time. She doesn't actually have a career. The career is sort of getting pregnant. Now, apparently, if you believe it, she started attacking poor Peter Ondrex's little wife. She wants to get her own back on her. I don't know why. Mind you, if you believe everything in the newspapers, Lauren Goodger, who used to go out with Mark Wright like 500 years ago, can't understand why he doesn't want to talk to her. She said, I want to talk to him so that we can all be friends. He hates you. Are you serious? He hates you. You're a stalker. You're mad as a fruitcake. He wouldn't be remotely into what you think you're going to go out for cosy cups of coffee. You need to get over yourself, dear. You really do. I mean, seriously, you've got serious issues. Very worrying. He's not going to be hanging around with you. What do you think? He's going to phone you up and go, yeah, Lauren, we had such a great time. Because this was 10 years ago. She spent the first 2 series of Towie going on about the fact he dumped her. Mind you, the trouble is in Lauren Goodger's case, everybody dumps her. That's the problem. Well, from 7 up for discussion, the Huawei leak did not amount to a criminal offence, say the police. Marks and Spencer's launch an LGBT plus sandwich to raise money for charity. I'm sorry, a gay sandwich? What's the point of that? A gay sandwich. Lettuce, bacon, guacamole, and tomato. Oh, LGBT. Oh, I see. Lettuce, guacamole, bacon, and tomato. How naff. How naff. Raising money for charity. I'm sure all the queens are going to be going, well, we must go and get one of these sandwiches. It just sounds so interesting, don't they? I mean, it just sounds like bacon, lettuce and tomato, doesn't it? That's what it sounds like to me. But with something else thrown into it. Grass your tax-dodging spouse or boss to HMRC and get up to $250,000 as a thank you. Who's going to be admitting that one? Can't wait to hear this. With Andrew Castle, Weekend Breakfast, from 7 this morning on LBC. And also the audience will be so much bigger this morning because it's ridiculous. It's so cold out there. You won't want to go anywhere at all. Have you ever owned a shell suit? Are you mad or something? Do I sound like the sort of person who's ever owned a shell suit? Good Lord above, honestly. You see me in a... Yeah, but that's a fantasy for you, isn't it? The producer goes, I see you in a shell suit. You won't even see me in a onesie. You see me... That's not a shell suit. It was a pair of trousers turned over to show my ample tummy. It was... I can't believe you watched that. That's very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Steve, I watched a programme on Channel 5 called My Yorkshire Farm about a couple with 9 children, no TV or laptops, made their own fun on the moors. They went through the winter when the beast from the east blew in, snow everywhere. I love that, actually. I love that. I love programmes like that because sometimes people can be very grounded. If kids have got televisions and they've got laptops and they've got mobile phones, they're not doing what kids are supposed to do, which is going out playing. And that's what we did as children. You went out and played. Nowadays they come in, they're isolated. They sit in the bedroom and the parents have got no idea what they're watching on the internet. You'd be horrified if you discovered. Apparently, eco-protesters are attaching themselves to railings by using Yoo-hoo glue because they want to get themselves noticed. Well, so, as far as I'm concerned, they could stay there all day. I couldn't care less. You super glue your hand to a front door. Let me well stay there. They'll soon want to go to toilets. Let them wet themselves. Go on, make it more entertaining for us. Oh, look, it could be an entertainment. I don't know what this super gluing, you get a few old biddies who started climbing onto the top of trains, and you go, shouldn't you be at home with some wind harness and perhaps a bit of a sleeping draft? I mean, I don't understand why you want to chain yourself to anything. I mean, chaining I could probably understand, but we had that with Plain Stupid, didn't we? They chained themselves to railings. I'd have just added another chain and left them there. Leave them there all winter. You want to do that, do it. I don't know why the police bother. The police had to climb on top of a train a short while ago with some of these eco-warriors, these old biddies who've never had a life up until now. And then they have to sort of get them down off there. And you think, leave them. Leave them if that's where they want to sit. Leave them. Don't bother. I'd have left them on Waterloo Bridge. But barricaded either end. Sorry, can we go to the toilet? No, you can't. So, please stop talking about eating guinea pigs. My little piggy Reuben is squeaking with fear. See, they understand animals, don't they? They understand. Elaine says, forget liver. Try thinly sliced pig's kidney. Oh, I don't like kidneys. Actually, no, I do. Steak and kidney pudding. That's quite nice. Today I might have to have a winter warmer. I think so. George from Luton says, I don't believe there's anybody in Luton called George, but there you go. I think the following is fairly appropriate given it's Sunday. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the French will eat them all. Thank you. Do the French eat everything? I did try snail once, and I did try frog's legs. Didn't like either of them, I'm afraid. I'm just not very good at that. Swiss roll or Battenberg? Swiss roll. Battenberg I like, but I don't like the marzipan around that. I used to eat marzipan, but it's just basically sugar, isn't it? I've been told not to eat too much sugar. Steve, I've tossed the coin. You won. So you don't have to watch the Line of Duty programme. Steve, I agree with you about the homeless. More should be done. I volunteer 5 nights a week to help out with my own money to help feed them, says Jasmine. I just don't understand why we've got an ineffectual government in waiting, and nobody can sort anything out. They haven't managed anything at all. They haven't managed anything. They keep going, perhaps we should have a chat with Mr. Corbyn, goes Theresa May. And you go, well, do it. What are you doing today? Invite him out for a bit of KFC. Sit down. It's just awful. It's just, we're so incompetent. You watch. The next thing is Shamima Begum will be back in this country. I hope not. Beautiful morning in God's own country. Eastbourne. Eastbourne. I believe a mushroom suit is a natural suit with mushroom spores on it. As they grow, they feed off the body, says Debbie. Yeah, I mean, that's what I assumed it would have been. That's what I would have assumed. Steve, I don't like the word mushroom, says Nicola. All this food talk. Now I'm dying for a cooked breakfast and the cafe doesn't open for 4 hours. Do you know, if I'd had the foresight, I'd have opened up a cafe in the middle of Twickenham High Street just doing bacon and a bit like Greg's, I suppose, actually. We've got Greg's. And make it big and just do on Rugby Day, especially for the Army and Navy, bacon rolls, sausage rolls, and that's it. Don't do anything. Just keep churning it out. They'll buy it. Simple as that. The new tune from Madonna, Steve, is quite catchy, but it's still flogging the S&M thing at the age of 60, says Pauline. You see, isn't it interesting? You as a woman are saying that. Men would probably say something completely different. Completely different. Have you ever eaten gerbil? Says Bob. My wife did when we went to the local fair. She never got off the big wheel. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Your diagnosis is correct, says Tony. Having a stent fitted on Tuesday morning after my angiogram on Friday. So spending my birthday in hospital. They'll keep you in for a few hours. You'll have it, I mean, there'll be a few of you taken in. Probably, last time I had it done, there was about 6 of us. And I was done first, but I had to wait till the middle of the afternoon before they released me. They won't let you go until... And it's done while you're awake. It's totally painless. You won't feel a thing. They'll numb you up in your arm, and then they'll give you the stent, and things will change dramatically. So there you go. Only the one stent. I've got six stents. Thanks to the nurses and doctors at Maidstone Hospital. They do it all the time. It's the most straightforward thing, and they're brilliant at it. The only thing you'll have to do is watch it. Because you'll be lying on your back with your arm out to one side, and you'll look at the screens above you. There'll be a thing circling your head, which is monitoring brain movement, and there will be screens showing them moving the stent on its wire all the way up your arm. Seems an awful long way to go, doesn't it, to do things like that? But it's brilliant. You'll have such a good time. Such a good time. You'll just be bored afterwards. You'll be very bored. You'll be like, it'll be hours. So I was done, I think, at 8 in the morning, and I didn't get out till about 3 in the afternoon. Couldn't wait to get out. I'd had enough by that time. Is it me, says Shell? I don't know. Have a look in the mirror. Does it look like you? It's you. Is Harry Redknapp on every commercial? Oh, is he ever? Perhaps he needs the money. We were always told Harry Redknapp's all really rich, lives in a £10 million house. And I'm thinking, how many more blooming adverts is he going to be on? I suppose he's got to capitalise before he dies, because there's not going to be much use after he's dead, is it, really? Steve, I went to stay in Britain, Derek's B&B in Eastbourne at Easter, and to Joe Allen's yesterday, both on your recommendations. Both were wonderful, says Chrissy. That's what we like. When I went to Joe Allen's, they said, we get no end of your listeners, Steve, coming in going, does he really eat here? It's like a pilgrimage. Like a pilgrimage. 84850, steve at lbc.co.uk. And start the train up and pull away. See how long they're sitting up there then. Well, that's just cruel, isn't it? But mildly entertaining, I think. I never understand it. You get all the women that go on these things, and it's a case of they sort of go there. It probably gives them a bit of excitement. It probably is a bit of excitement, in their otherwise dull life. So they dress up with their favourite anorak and they go, yeah, I'm a campaigner, They've left it all their life. They haven't been a campaigner up until now, but now they've started campaigning. And their idea of campaigning is to superglue themselves. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Victoria Beckham's banned her family. Do you know, you wish the whole family just disappear off, don't you? Anyway, Dave was out in a suit the other day, wearing sandals, brown sandals. He's not the full ticket, is he, old David Beckham? He might look fantastic for some people, but the rest of him, I shouldn't imagine you could sit down and have a conversation about anything in particular. I would love to sit down and go, so Brexit, David, what do you reckon? I don't think he'd know. I don't think he'd have the faintest idea what it was. What else we got today? BA strike threat on flights to Terror City. This is Islamabad. They did axe the flights, and the British Airways staff could strike over these flights. They don't want to go there. They don't want to go there. Do you know that the number of dogs left alone in hot cars has hit a 3-year high? Seriously. And here they are, the two bores, Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton. They're both 38. Just that Paris Hilton's mental age playing is probably about 7 or something like that. And the other one, Kim Kardashian, doesn't mind going to an elephant park where they chain elephants up. So she gets way down today. Meghan and Prince Harry, very quickly, want to find a family home in California. We've just spent $3 million building up the place in Windsor. Now you're telling us, sod Windsor, we want to go to California. Well, go to California. Go there, stay there, don't come back ever again. Thank you very much indeed. What an ungrateful couple. £3 million we've just spent. Our money. £3 million. They say she's dreaming. She wants to be near her mother. Wouldn't it be cheaper to bring the mother over here? I should imagine. Steve, I once had snails. It took me 4 hours to eat them. I didn't like them. I didn't like snails. I can only vaguely remember somebody said, chew them. Oh, no, thank you very much indeed. The so-called new Maddie suspect is a requirement for more money to be spent. If real evidence existed, the Portuguese police, Steve, would reopen the case. Well, I'm amazed it's taken them 12 years to find a German paedophile who's in prison, who apparently might or might not have been in Praia de Luz. What's that got to do with it? You'd think they'd be exploring all these things. That's why they want more money. And then next time round, there'll be somebody else, and then somebody else, and so it goes on. It's just a never-ending drain on resources. Whereas I'd much rather have some more police officers on the streets. Much more. Thank you. Steve. What's another one here? Wait a minute, we'll just quickly do this. Why are all concessions made by May? What concessions has Corbyn made? Or the EU? She's weak, says Lynn. I just want them to talk. It's no good saying, I think we should all get back together and talk about it. I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear that. I want to hear them saying that they're actually doing it. Lovely picture of Danny Dyer. That's Danny Dyer, the girl with the fake hair, and her little boyfriend called Sammy. You remember Sammy? He was pictured holding a little packet of white powder. I've never seen people put talcum powder in a packet and hold it in their hand. Isn't that odd? Well, there you go. She won Love Island. To be honest, she hasn't done anything since, has she? She's been on the programme. She's written her autobiography, so that's finished. And somebody said she wanted to make the most out of the show and ensure she bagged the most lucrative deals. She's got no talent. Absolutely zilch talent. Nothing at all. The last one she went out with had a slight cocaine problem. And then she went out the other day with her father, who's... as I say, he didn't cancel his holiday when she won the programme, so I just think it's all publicity, isn't it, really? However, if you get headaches, changing the subject, there is a new gadget that can zap away headaches. It's called the Gamma Core. You hold it up against a nerve in the neck, where it disrupts pain signals and relieves suffering. You can rent it for about £2,940 a year, but they reckon many will now get it for free. Well, I hope we're not providing that. As far as I'm concerned, you get a headache, you take an aspirin. I'm not going to give you some very expensive gadget. It's a brilliant idea. I think this is for serious head. This is for migraine, isn't it? This isn't just normal. Yes, it is. It's migraines. And it's for cluster headaches. Have you ever heard of a cluster headache? I've never heard of a cluster headache. I don't get headaches. God, I'm lucky. I just don't... I can't remember the last time I had a headache. I really cannot remember, which is probably quite good. And here's Karen Brady. What's she talking about today? She says, I'm not surprised residents living in a Grade 2 listed building are upset after being told they need an eviction notice to remove 2 homeless people who've pitched a tent in their front garden. Imagine if it happened to you. I tell you, I'd be raining on their parade without any hesitation whatsoever. And given how laughably inadequate some jail terms are for serious crimes, she says, like rape and assault, it feels wrong that a former hospital doctor, Angharad Roberts, has been jailed for a year for stealing some perfume from John Lewis. Of course, stealing is wrong, but this 38-year-old woman's life tells a story. Qualified as a nurse, and then she worked at Neville Hall Hospital in Abergavenny in South Wales. Lost her job after a relationship breakdown. Clearly she's struggling, but a year's jail. I mean, seriously. It's just ridiculous. There must be different sets of standards in different part of the country. Mind you, the mayor, of course, the mayor of London, our esteemed mayor, hopefully for not much longer, having sort of introduced this new charge for polluting car owners of £12.50. Apparently, if you can afford the £12.50, you can come and pollute anyway. OK, that's all right. So just as long as you know that, because it's basically a bit flexible. But circuses and fun fairs are going to escape a green tax on dirty diesels. He has ruled the showman's vehicles are exempt from the £100 daily charge for driving in the capital. We're not too sure why. He's just perhaps he likes a good circus and a fun fair. So they've mocked up a picture of him wearing a clown's outfit, and it kind of suits him as well. Harry Potter fans who camp on a beach featured in the films could be hit with a £100 fine. Freshwater West became a tourist magnet after Dobby, the elf's burial scene, was filmed there for the Deathly Hallows, based on the book. Authorities say illegal campfires, discarded litter and overnight parking are threatening the beauty spot in Pembrokeshire. What is it about people who want to go to the places where they've seen it on the movies, and they've seen it being filmed, and they go, that's the place I want to go to. And so everybody goes there, and they sit there and go, Dobby's buried here. And they go, no, he's not. No, he's not. It was just a bit of a film. But people like to visit. In London, if ever you see them filming, then you automatically look, don't you? We have a fascination for people. You always go, I wonder if there's anybody famous there. In the Mall, there's always trucks there. In Richmond, they do a lot of filming on the green in some of the big houses, which they use. I never know what it is, but I think they've done Downton Abbey down on Pall Mall, and all the trucks come out, and you never see anybody in costume, but all the old cars are there. It's really good, actually. Very exciting. I'm just travelling to Liverpool, says Simon, to see my brother to watch a Kids from Fame reunion show. Oh. What's that? What's a Kids from Fame reunion show? Is it the original Kid? They must be fairly ancient by now, mustn't they? The original Kids from Fame. He says, I'm travelling from Crawley to Liverpool. Do I need to take my passport? Very naughty. Very naughty. You do not need to take it. You don't need to take it. In fact, you don't need to go to Liverpool at all, actually. Oh, no, you have to go because you've got to watch the reunion. I suppose that could be quite exciting, couldn't it? Your mention of the Keith and Paddy show being axed, it's a case of no likey, no watchy. I know. I mean, because it was rubbish. How's the leg? Hurt a little bit this morning. We were talking about my legs the other day, and somebody said, you need to take turmeric. And Michelle says, hope your other event went okay. It was such a busy day Friday. To be honest with you, I was so grateful to get home with it, because I'd been up. It was almost 24 hours, which was quite a lot for me. But no, I'm getting pains on the back of my legs, so I've started taking turmeric tablets, which Patsy swears by turmeric tablets. I bet Tony Polledri would swear by tablets. But it was busy. It was busy. It was very nice the other day at Little Italy. If you've never been, just inside Soho, busy place. Although, strange enough, we came out, they have the coffee shop next door. And I was talking to Tony as we're just coming out and walking down, and we got level with the coffee shop. Went, oh, wait a minute, Romanians. And they were thieving. They were trying to thieve from a coffee shop. I said, what do they take? And so literally the guy behind the counter whizzed out. He said, they're in here around Soho a lot of the time. I said, what do they thieve? He said, anything, bags. And a friend of mine, in fact, somebody from our office, I won't tell you who it is because it's too embarrassing. He was out having a meal in a restaurant, lost his bag with his computer in, his house keys, his wallet, everything. And how did they do it? They saw the bag under the chair and they just kicked it to one side. And so if ever you're going out and you're sitting outside a pub, or you're sitting, it doesn't matter where it is, it can be anywhere at all, outside a pub, inside a restaurant, put the handle of your bag with the chair leg over it so they can't get away. Because all they do is they do it, he said, and he lost everything. Lost everything. He didn't seem too upset by it for some reason. I don't know why. But it really is, it happened years ago. I can remember it going back 35 years. A load of us went out from another radio station and somebody's bag got kicked to one side. Wherever there's a group of people, you girls do, you put your bags on the floor and dance round them like it's a powwow or something. And they just kick them to one side. And then they just pick them up. They take out the bits they want, which would be a lighter if you smoke, unless it's a cheap. That's why I never take an expensive lighter out with you if you smoke. Take cheapos out. Go to the pound store, get 10 for £1 or something. And it's the wallets they want, and the mobile phones, and anything else they can get. Most of it is totally useless, except the wallets. Except the wallets. Steve, just looked at the time on my phone. I realised I've been reading all night. The Sign of a Great Book for Sure, written by a work colleague, and I've tried to critique it from a stranger's perspective. Only downside is I've only just tuned into the show, and I've only got half an hour of you left. Oh. Steve, who writes the stories about the royals? I wish I could tell you, Ollie. I have no idea. I mean, you probably find some of them are absolute rubbish. Like last week, I was putting out the fact, I'm sure she's had the baby. She doesn't want the publicity for the baby, and then they go, oh, they're actually going to move to Windsor, and then the Queen's been to the house. Why? I've got no idea. She knows the house backwards. And she doesn't normally do those sort of visits. She's over 90, for goodness sake. And then now the rumour is that they want to move to California and get a house there. What for? Who's paying for that one? I hope they are. Hope they are. Please send the eco-protesters to China, Russia or India. As for the mushroom suit, I won't have it and I will be cremated, which is the best option. Probably is, actually. Had you ever heard of the mushroom suit? I'd never heard of it. Morning to the Facebook spikers too. There we go. I'm not sure Hastings is full of the living dead. Although on that count, I would refer you to Eastbourne's bowling club. Thank you. Poor old Eastbourne. Poor old Eastbourne. Charlie Girling, from our showbiz department, very, very happy. Very, very happy. That Love Island is back. She says, I'm so excited. You need to watch this year. I can't do it. I don't know why. I just can't, actually. So, my brother is going to watch Matt, who is his future wife's son, doing a skydive this morning. Oh, my Lord. We talked about skydiving the other week. And I was thinking, would I ever do a skydive? No. No. You would have to push me out of the plane for me to do a skydive. Matt's obviously a lot braver than I am. A lot braver. So I hope he goes well. I hope you have a nice day. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. We have to, it's the only way we keep in touch via the programme. So Charlie Girling, very excited about Love Island back. I can't watch it. It's too late for me. It's too late. Warren says, did you see Britain's Got Talent? I think David Walliams is getting more gay by the day. Do you think that's entirely possible? I'm not sure. Is it some sort of act or something? I'm not sure why he plays gay with Simon Cowell. I don't quite get it. I mean, they're hopelessly mismatched. I mean, it's like Simon Cowell plays straight. I don't think he does. What, with Botox and the hair colouring and the makeup? And that's not playing straight. That's playing girly boys. Very shortly he'll find himself in a Thai ladyboy show if he's not careful. But every time they come on, they bring on people like sort of muscle boys, and David Walliams plays up to it. And I'm thinking, what game are we playing here? Because I really want the muscle boys to pile on top of him, take all his clothes off, which he'd probably like, and then just leave him on the stage. Making it... Sorry, there you are. Sunday, 10 to 7. You don't really want me to tell you that. Cluster headaches. I didn't know what cluster headaches were, but apparently they only occur in males, and it's a sharp pain in a certain part of your head. They normally last hours and are normally daily for about 4 to 6 months, and then they disappear for a few years before they return. I've never even heard of them before. At my age, you thought I would have heard of cluster headaches. Despite knowing all the escape routes, I still managed to get myself trapped in the rugby traffic. Oh, there's no way round it at all. I was asking Paul Cooper, I said, and John, and I said, where shall I go? Where shall I go? Shall I go Richmond? He said, you'll never make it. I said, I'll go to Kingston. And he went, you'll never make it there and back. There's so much traffic on rugby days. I mean, there is seriously. My friend Rich, who works for one of our sister stations, says, I'll push you out of a plane for charity, mate. I seriously, I'd be quite serious. I think I'd have a heart attack. I've seen people doing it on YouTube, and I remember seeing some girls once, I think from EasyJet, and they were going to do a jump out of a cable car for charity. It was like a bungee jump. And so they get in the cable car, they go up the mountain, then they stop the car, they go, right, all ready to jump out. They open the door, two of them burst into tears. I can't do it. I thought, that'd be me. That'd be me. People go, come on, you can do it. A little push. No, absolutely not. You know what I'd be worried about? I'd be worried the cable would break. That's what I'd be thinking about. I'd be so worried about that. And I couldn't do it. In fact, it makes me, I've gone all sweaty thinking about it. And I don't do sweaty. Not anymore. Now I've got medication. So, that's why. So, Rich, thank you. But, frankly, not for me to, I couldn't do anything like that. I'm bad enough on roller coasters. It takes me ages to get on one. Once I'm on it, I'm fine. I'll whiz around for days. But, you know, normally I'd put your hands up in the air, you know, like you just don't care. And the Americans, I learned that from the Americans. I'm the only one doing it. You go to Thorpe Park, you put your hands up in the air and they go, what are you doing? You go, I don't know, it's what you're supposed to do. But I'm definitely not going to be throwing myself out of a plane, pushed out or otherwise. Even on a wire, I couldn't do it. So Matt's pretty, I don't know if he's doing it for charity or if he's doing it just because he wants to do it. I should probably find out later, I should imagine. Steve, headaches. I suffer from terrible headaches in bright sunlight for about 3 years till my lower left bridge came loose. Your lower left bridge? Oh, what, in your mouth? Oh, dear. That's a bit odd. And then they stopped. John says, I would recommend to think about a trip to the dentist to sufferers. Never heard of that before. Never heard of that before. Mind you, I did come in here one evening. It was a disaster. And I ate some smoked salmon, so rich, and had this sort of smoked salmon. I don't know why I had smoked salmon. And the suction of eating it pulled a bridge out. And all I felt was the bridge coming out. I went, and I rushed off to the toilet to go, oh, my God, I better have a look at it. And the person on the news desk said, rushed after me, went, are you all right, Steve? You all right? I said, my bridge has fallen out. And unfortunately, every time I spoke, I whistled on the programme. So we had a programme where I was trying to speak normally, but every so often, like that. And it became immensely irritating to me and everybody else. So I rushed off to the dentist and he glued me back in again. Very frightening. It was the whistling bit. I don't know why. I've got to think about whistling, I suppose. Steve, can't the owners of the Grade 2 listed building not invite the Harry Potter filmmakers to take a picture of the garden? Then they could fine the squatters £100. Might be quicker than an eviction notice. This is a couple who were in the paper the other day. They've got a lovely Grade 2 listed house. Squatters in tents. We have it down here, Tent City. They used to be in Lincoln's Inn Field. Now they've taken up the Strand, and they sit in doorways and they drink and, you know, money. No, thank you very much indeed. And so he's got two of them in tents. He can't do anything about it. He's got to go to court to get an eviction notice. As I say, there must be easier ways of doing it, but that's what they've said. Meghan must be very uncomfortable, said Richard in Tillingham. Can't be easy being pregnant and whilst having your head. Said thank you. And, yes, I mean, well, they're going to induce her, aren't they? They're going to have to if she's this, unless she's had it already. There was a private ambulance scene down there the other day, so that kind of sort of maybe reinforced to me that she has had the thing. Turmeric, Steve, says Jim. How about 2 new bionic legs? How lovely. How lovely. Rob says, can you do more hours? More hours than I do already? I don't think so. I don't think there are more hours in the... I'm on 7 days a week. I mean, come on, goodness sake. And I'm back this evening at 9 o'clock. And you have to podcast. And there's a reason for me telling you that. It's a little game that I play with James O'Brien. He tells me that he's more popular than me, and I tell him, stop nicking my guests from in conversation. And then it goes round, we go round the houses and all the rest of it, and he says to me, I'm getting really good downloads. And I go, actually, listen, I get better downloads, because I have 4 programmes currently running on the podcast, and if you could see your way clear to downloading them, I'd be very grateful. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to appeal to you, but when I go home, I shall probably speak to one of the godchildren later on today. They say, did you have a good show today, Steve? And I'll go, because they've given up calling me Uncle Steve. It sounds a bit ridiculous. And I say, yes, I did. And did lots of people download your podcast? Now, I don't want to disappoint the godchildren. So if you could see your way clear to downloading them, that would be very nice. Somebody says perhaps skydiving and bungee jumping are best avoided by those who've had eye surgery, especially detached retinas. Oh, Lord, you make it even worse. Imagine halfway down. Definitely not good. A lot of you talking about the gay sandwich, generating a lot of criticism online. I don't quite understand why they're not calling it a gay sandwich, are they? Please tell me they're not calling it a gay sandwich. It's, what they've done is revealed their take on an inclusive sandwich. And what they've added in is, what have they added in? LGBT, lettuce, bacon, guacamole, and tomato. Sounds disgusting. I mean, couldn't we have, for a gay sandwich, maybe some meat would be quite nice. A little bit of beef. Come on, some limp lettuce sandwich. How dull is that? And guacamole. I mean, who in their right mind who's gay eats guacamole? Goodness sake, honestly. People get very worried about these things, don't they? And I'm assuming the money raised goes to something. I don't know what. I should be avoiding it like the plague. I've never heard of such a thing. A gay sandwich. I think that must be the generic term that people have actually given it. They call it, it's a gay sandwich. So does that mean straight people can have it? No, it's not for straight people. You've got your own sandwiches. You've got bacon, lettuce and tomato without the guacamole. Apparently guacamole is so gay, it just goes into a sandwich. Now they go, here we go. So there's the straight sandwiches and then there's the gay sandwich. It's as simple as that. Can't believe it, can you? I mean, seriously, have they gone round the bend? Small wonder they're closing branches left, right and centre. I shall be avoiding it. I should be, actually, perhaps it has its own shelf. Perhaps the straight sandwiches don't want to hang around with the gay sandwich. Perhaps they're all going, I'm sorry, we are bacon, lettuce and tomato. We are pastrami. I'm sorry, what are you? Gay sandwich. I'm a gay sandwich. And people will be going, well, who's going to be going and buying that? Nobody. You don't want to walk out. You can imagine, you get to the till and the girl goes, you're having the gay sandwich. You go, is it? I'll change it. I'll get something else. I'll have pineapple or something like that. Mad, isn't it, really? Today's going to be such an odd day. I don't know why. So, cop killer on the Daily Star. That's Mr. Cregan. Stupid, sad person. The Mirror. The lenient jail term for the motorist. The driver who killed this family's son will be out in 6 months. She goes, how can that be justice? Exactly, 6 months for that. Steal a bottle of perfume from John Lewis, a year in prison. You explain to me. Brexit deal this week, panicking May and Corbyn. Oh, just get on with it. Now, children, sit down, for goodness sake, get on with it. Otherwise we'll come around and slap the back of your legs. Angela Rippon, talking about being flashed at. Also, what are the Mail running with today? Magical new photos of royal mother-to-be. She's just having a baby, okay? She's not having sort of, a car or something like that. Oh, and Emma, sitting in seat 2F on a carbon-spewing BA jet, days after lecturing us all to stop flying. Yes, Dame Emma Thompson. What a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. The Jeremy Corbyn supporter took her personal booth. Having said that, we should all fly less, apparently. It's a case of, don't do what I do, do what I say.